he will be a staff for the righteous with which for them to stand and not to fall. And he will be the light of the nations and the hope of those whose hearts are troubled. All who dwell on the earth will fall down and worship him, and they will praise and bless and celebrate with song the Lord of spirits. 1 Enoch chapter 48, verses 4 through 5. The modern world doesn't acknowledge, but is nevertheless haunted by spirits, angels, demons, and saints. In our time, many yearn to break free of the prison of a flat, secular materialism, to see and to know reality as it truly is. What is this spiritual reality like? How do we engage with it well? How do we permeate everyday life with spiritual presence? Orthodox Christian priests, Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung, host this live call-in show focused on enchantment in creation, the union of the seen and unseen as made by God and experienced by mankind throughout history. Welcome to the Lord of Spirits.
Hey, greetings, giant killers, dragon slayers. You're listening to the 127th episode of the Lord of Spirits podcast. We're in our 6th year. Nevertheless, I'm still Father Andrew Stephen Damick, and with me is still the only ancient faith radio podcaster ever to have declared a blood feud against James Earl Jones, Father Stephen DeYoung. And we're live.
Other people have declared other blood feuds, but my war against James Earl Jones is one that I fought alone. And victoriously. He's dead. I'm alive.
Starting in the second half of the show, if you're joining us as live as Father Stephen is, you can call us at 855-237-2346. And if you make it past the great gatekeeper, Mike Taroman Degan, with your mostly on-topic question, we might even talk back to you. So
you could lie.
Here we are. It's November. You were saying, Father?
I was saying they could lie when they do the call screener to get on the air.
People are liars these days.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
But on the Christmas thing.
Yeah, I was about to talk about Christmas.
Yes, you're saying it's November. We're getting toward the season. I mean, I feel like we have to address the elephant in the room. Once again, I need to make some polarizing comments.
Oh, I'll sit back and
and that is that, brethren, we are now called to the heights of asceticism. Because once again, as we prepare to begin the Nativity fast, the evil, benighted fools at the McDonald's Corporation have brought back the McRib.
Again?
It is not, well, arguably, it is not technically meat, but it does contain animal products.
It's malicious. The timing is malicious.
Making it off limits. Never have so many been called to give up so much.
I'm going to watch the McRib Girl YouTube video again just for old time's sake.
Now, I know you reject the McRib out of disdain, and so for you, this has no ascetic value.
No, I like the McRib. Actually, okay. I know. I was just canceled by a bunch of people for saying that. Like, what? No, I do. I kind of like the McRib. I don't know what to say.
Okay. It's a bold admission on your part.
I mean,
will your wife let you eat one?
Not in her presence.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be. So now it's doubly surreptitious, right? You're gonna have to like sneak off tomorrow before the fast begins and get yourself like a small hoard of McRibs.
Yeah, I mean Friday. Yeah, it's Friday though. So yeah,
that's true.
That's true.
Before midnight tonight. On your way home, is there a McDonald's between the studio and your house?
No, there isn't. There is not. But speaking of Christmas, though, it's on a lot of people's minds. And so that means, everybody knows what that means, the season of meme history and theology is upon us. That's right, kids. Soon you'll be seeing nonstop memes explaining how the birth of Jesus is really just one or another ancient pagan god dressed up in new clothes to oppress you and enslave you with brutal Christian ideas like forgiveness, loving your enemies, and the inherent God-given value of every human being. Among all of these pagan figures who somehow are all more Jesus than Jesus, one rises above them all, and that is Mithras. Some have compared Mithraists to the Freemasons. such as me, when devising.
Yeah, I was going to say that
for the YouTube version of this.
Probably some other people too. Yeah.
Yes. Well, also notably Tom Holland on the Rest of History podcast.
There you go. There you go.
Like, I didn't make this up. Yes, men gathering with their buddies in their lodges, being initiated into successively secret degrees of mysteries. But the meme makers, they know better. So how about it, Father Stephen? Have you, much like the people in Carabara, England, have got a Mithraeum in your backyard? Any Mithraeum archaeology going on in Louisiana?
No.
Oh.
You know what the water table's like in southern Louisiana?
That's true. Everything had better be completely above ground.
Yes.
Except for New Orleans, which, as we know, isn't.
Is it a bowl? What could go wrong?
Yeah. Literally lower than sea level. That should be their secondary motto. God bless them.
So yeah, not happening around here.
Yeah.
Basements and bomb.
Right. No basements. Someone in the chat said they had an andouille sausage today, so there you go.
Well, that's something.
That connects you to Louisiana.
They're going to play Gambit in Marvel Rivals when he releases tomorrow. There you go. There's a connection. He's even a Cajun, so, you know.
That's right. That's right.
So what are we talking about? Oh, yeah, okay. Mithraism.
Mithraism, yeah.
Yes.
Mithraism, if you want to
Yes, and this episode, just to clarify for folks, this episode is actually about Mithraism.
Yes.
The previous live episode was not about Zoroastrianism.
No, it was.
Today, it was about Cyrus.
How dare you not cover Zoroastrianism thoroughly in an episode that wasn't about Zoroastrianism?
Yes, in an academic way with verbal footnotes.
Verbal footnotes. Footnote. I feel like I'm in audiobook narration mode now suddenly.
Oh, yeah. There was one of those where I forgot to do it. And so at the end, no, they just had me record me going, footnote, end footnote.
And
footnote, end footnote.
We've all been there, Father.
And footnote. So I did a lot of reads. I did a lot of inflections. I gave them a lot of samples to work with. And they peppered them through.
Nice.
But yeah, we're not doing that on the show. Much to a few people's chagrin and everyone else's rejoicing. So yeah, Mithras. So Mithraism proper, we're talking about a cult in the Roman world.
Yeah.
But he isn't a god that's like invented for that cult in the Roman world.
He's an import.
Yeah. Right. And pretty much all of the central figures in the mystery cults of the Roman world were pre-existing gods and goddesses. That just became associated with particular mystery rites in particular places. Right?
Yeah.
They weren't sort of invented whole cloth. People weren't like, hey guys, I invented a new religion.
I mean,
it's not how that works.
It's funny. You get the sense sometimes that sort of the ultra secular historians of the ancient world seem to think that that's how it works.
Yes.
That religions are invented. You know, that they're like the result of a conspiracy or something like this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, a lot of our Protestant friends think that's how Christianity worked.
Oh man.
But anyway,
now begins the hot spicy take.
Yes. Just dropped out of the sky. Had no relation to preceding Judaism. But so Mithras, what do we know about his preceding existence before the Mithraism proper? That is our subject proper tonight, which we will get to later on, as is our wont. So the first still extant appearance of Mithra, which is the original or more original form of his name, the first surviving appearance to this day is from a Hittite suzerainty treaty.
I love a good Hittite suzerainty treaty.
Yes, which these have come up on the show before.
Yes. What other podcasts do you listen to, dear listener, in which Hittite suzerainty treaties come up more than once?
And on different topics, unrelated topics. Because the previous place we talked about it was unrelated to Mithraism. So this is the treaties that we found involving the Hittites and the Luvians in Asia Minor. That the format of these suzerain vassal treaties from the mid-second millennium, we're talking about like 16th century BC, that format is the format that biblical covenants generally follow. And where we've talked about this in the past, we used the Ten Commandments and the Book of Deuteronomy as a whole as examples of this. But finding these treaties that are not directly related in any way to the Bible sort of showed us, this is a format that was present in the ancient world, right? And if you want to read about the suzerainty treaties of Shupaluluma in great detail and their connection to the Bible, you could get Meredith Klein's Treaty of the Great King.
Say that again 5 times fast. Shupaluluma. Also not one to name your kids after. I mean, what do you call him? Shoop?
He was, Shoopy Doop. I don't know. He was an abject heathen. So,
yes.
Not a baptismal name. Right. But so, in the context of that, we talked about the general real broad strokes format, and you can see this. We're not going to go through all this again, but you can see this in the Ten Commandments. You can see this in the Book of Deuteronomy as a whole. It begins with an introduction saying, here's who the person is who is issuing the treaty. In the case of these Hittite documents, Shupaluluma. In the case of the Ten Commandments, I am the Lord your God. I am Yahweh your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, right? Who the person is and what they have done for the vassal, right? And then there are a series of stipulations that outline what the suzerain, the great king, expects from the vassal king, the lesser king. And then there is a listing of blessings that the great king will bestow upon the vassal if he keeps to those stipulations, and various consequences that will come upon the vassal if he fails to keep those stipulations. And then there are divine figures called as witnesses. In the case of, if you're familiar with your Bible, in the case of Deuteronomy, right, God calls the heavens and the earth as witnesses because there's nothing greater than himself by which to swear. And then a copy was put at the feet of the idol of the god who was a witness in the temple, and another copy was kept by the vassal king, by the king himself. And so in the case of the Torah covenant, both copies are put in the Ark of the Covenant, because that is both the footstool of God's throne, him being God, and him being king. But so these follow that format. But in the case of these Hittite treaties, the actual Hittite treaties themselves that follow this format, they call a series of divine witnesses, a series of gods, essentially to bear witness. And the gods who they call upon, most of them, are actually old Indo-Aryan or Indo-Persian gods. Okay, so this is an Indo-European people group that has migrated to Asia Minor by this point in the second millennium BC, in the Bronze Age. And so the otherwise known Indo-Persian gods who are called upon are, number one, Mithra, who we're talking about tonight, and then Varuna, Indra, and two of the Nasatya.
And why don't you tell everybody what the Nasatya are?
they're lesser deities.
Yeah.
Who are called upon. But they're otherwise known from Indian paganism and early Persian paganism. So we're focusing tonight on Mithra. The next major place where he shows up is in the Rig Veda. So now we're getting into Vedic Hinduism and early Persian paganism. In the Rig Veda at 359, he shows up with Varuna again, like that same pairing. And there's a reason why those two are paired together. So Mithra's name, like his literal name, is the word for a covenant or a treaty or an agreement.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes sense that he'd be the guy, if you were making a covenant or treaty or agreement, he would be the deity in particular who a pagan would call upon to be a witness, right? Because that's his shtick. That's his whole bag, is the whole covenant thing, right? And Varuna's name means something like a true statement, a true word.
Yeah, right. There also seems to be
speaking truth.
There also seems to be an etymology related to the notion of binding, which, I mean, obviously these things are all kind of connected. Well, I wasn't trying to make a pun, but yeah, I mean, binding, truth, all this kind of stuff together.
Right. So you've got an agreement. You want it to be binding. You want the person to be true to their word.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And so these two being paired together and being invoked for a covenant agreement makes a whole ton of sense.
Yeah.
The other major Indo-Persian source that mentions Mithra and gives some more information is Avesta 10. So the Avesta are basically ancient hymns to these gods. And what comes out of Avesta 10 about Mithra in particular is it's talking about Mithra in terms of him enforcing sort of covenant stipulations, him enforcing agreements. Meaning if someone is sort of true to their word and fulfills their duty and their responsibilities, he's the one who sends the blessings of rain and crops and good health, right, for people and animals. And if someone is not, on the other hand, then Mithra goes to war against them in his chariot. So you can see there again, once you understand that covenant structure, you can understand how that relates, right? The idea is that he's called as a witness and then he sort of enforces it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
As a pagan deity.
These are the rules. And I mean, it's important to note, of course, that these covenants are not like contracts in our own day where two parties get together and they agree on what's going to bind them. It's, I'm the big guy, you're the small guy, you're going to do what I say, and this is the way that I expect you to do it. And this is what's going to happen to you if you do it, what's going to happen to you if you don't do it, because I'm the big guy.
Yeah, it's more like an employer-employee employment contract.
Yeah.
Except instead of getting fired, you get killed.
Right. Yep. So, hey, this is the ancient world. Getting killed is probably the least of the bad things.
Yes, not the worst thing that could happen to you by far.
Cases,
between this, right? So now, I mean, we're all the way back in the high, mid to late Bronze Age here in what we're talking about. There's a good 1,000 years before we get to Mithraism in the Roman world, right? Before there's a Roman Empire around. And so we see him pop up in various ways, and it is mostly in Persian religion and Persian cultural practice. As we come into sort of pre-imperial Persian life.
Yeah,
right?
this is the earlier Persian,
right.
Earlier Persian paganism before Zoroastrian.
Right. And so some of this will continue into the imperial period.
Tongue twist.
Some of the things we're about to talk about, even as the worship of Mithras as a sort of standard pagan deity kind of recedes in the face of Zoroastrianism. But so he's, because of everything we said, he has this role as this sort of mediator of covenants, right? And treaties and agreements, where he is the one who sort of comes in between and enforces them. And because of that sort of idea of him as mediator, in the Persian calendar, the old Persian calendar, the 7th month was named after him.
Yeah, so that would be like right in the middle of the year.
Yeah. And the 16th day of the month was the day on which he was celebrated.
Yeah.
Which is also right in the middle of the month, right? So
the middle of the middle.
Yeah. So he was the one who watched between the heavens and the underworld, right? So remember, we've got the 3 layers in ancient Near Eastern cosmology, right? There's the heavens, the earth, and the regions under the earth, right? And so he's keeping an eye on all the stuff going on the earth in the middle tier, right? Because he's got to enforce all these agreements that he's been called as a witness to, so he's got to kind of keep track of what everybody's doing.
Yeah.
Right. And this idea of him being in the middle, right, has led to a lot of people arguing, this is not conclusive, but arguing that mesetis in Greek, that means mediator, and the whole set of cognate words in Latin, like media, median, mediate, right, are actually derived from his name. From Mithra. It's not 100%, but people argue it.
Yeah, yeah.
That there's an etymological relationship. But the concept, obviously, is related either way.
Sure.
So as we talked about last time when we were talking about Persia, as Cyrus begins the Persian Empire
Although I should say, for all the kids at home, from their point of view, it's not last time. It was 2 episodes ago.
Well, yeah.
Because, yeah.
Yeah, but, we're
not experiencing time
and space don't exist.
Everybody.
Yes, time and space don't exist, so it's all relative. I didn't say last time I didn't say last time,
What year is it where you are, Father Stephen?
It is 178 AD.
Okay.
And that's how I like it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So as there comes to be a Persian Empire, as this becomes a thing under Cyrus, of course, we talked a little bit last time about, Zoroastrianism becomes a thing and becomes sort of the imperial religion. That sort of shapes the religious identity of the newborn empire, rather than the old paganism, right? And there's a little bit of a need for that, right? So there's a need for that in that the old Indo-Persian paganism is something they shared, with their neighbors, with scattered Indo-European peoples in other places at different levels, right? So this is a shared thing. It's hard to form your identity around something you share with all of your neighbors.
Sure, of course.
Right? That's.
I want to be different, just like all the different people.
So there's that, right? Yeah. I want to be unique and different like everyone else. But also remember, and this is another episode, it all weaves together. We talked about the axial age. And as we come into the Persian Empire, we're coming into the Axial Age, meaning there are religious shifts happening everywhere. And we didn't go into a ton of detail on Zoroastrianism, but we did mention the fact that especially early on, there were a lot of forms of Zoroastrianism that didn't just do away with the earlier paganism. They sort of incorporated it in a transitional way, right? By making the old Indo-pagan gods sort of lesser divinities, right? Sort of demoting them under Ahura Mazda, rather than just, rejecting them outright. And so the shift to Zoroastrianism was part of a shift all over the place, right? Literally all over the world, in that period, from the earlier paganism to kind of a paganism 2.0. And we talked about that in that episode in terms of pretty much everybody, but including, like, this is where Greek philosophy starts to emerge as a more refined form in certain ways of the previous Greek paganism, right? So it's part of that general trend. But then, so that new 2.0, right, Indo-Persian religion 2.0 that emerges in the Persian Empire, is also new in the sense that it is a phenomenon that happens within the newborn empire, making it well suited to becoming a religion around that will form the identity in part of that empire going forward. That said, even as that happens, right, and sort of the royal cult and the official cult and everything transitions to Zoroastrianism in the Persian Empire, there are a lot of scattered tribal groups here and there that are still basically doing the old school pagan thing.
Yeah, I mean, this is how it works when a new sort of religious, so to speak, sheriff comes to town. Is the people kind of out in the countryside are often still doing the old thing. Yeah,
and I mean, this is true. This is the story in medieval Europe, right? Yeah. Medieval Europe becomes officially, Christian Europe, but you go out in the countryside in all of those countries, there's people doing folk magic and all kinds of holdover ritual stuff from old European paganism.
Yeah. Or even like when the Muslims took over southern Spain, there's Christians and Jews in Spain, but eventually like the cities are not as Christian or Jewish, and it's more kind of, out in the countryside that people are practicing those religions.
Yeah. And one example in this particular case is that there's pretty solid evidence that there were different Kurdish tribal groups still worshiping Mithra.
Yeah.
During the period of the Persian Empire, including the Yazidis.
Wow. Which
we will not be doing an episode on the Yazidis.
Yeah. But their religion is quite different now, but I'm sure.
Yeah, too off topic for us. Yeah. But they've always been kind of religious minorities. They've always been sort of doing their own thing.
They are mentioned in the 2017 edition of Orthodoxy and Heterodoxy. Just had to put that out.
There you go. Sell that book.
There you go.
I think everyone owns a copy now, though, so you're going to have to do like a third edition.
Oh, no.
To resell it again.
What religions should I add, everybody? Sound off in the chat. Let's find out.
Well, you've got to account for all the ones that have changed and warped and fallen apart.
That's true.
Right?
And some new ones that have come up.
2017. COVID did a number on some of these things.
I'm told there's a religion and heresy called COVIDism, since you mentioned that. So maybe I could put that in there.
Yeah, I was amazed that you didn't, spend a whole chapter on ecumenism, the pan heresy. So
the pan heresy of ecumenism.
You could have just covered that and not talked about anything else, right? You could have just,
because that's everything.
That's
right. Why would you don't need anything else?
And Yes. And so it's not that, because of course the Persian Empire is going to be conquered by Alexander, but Mithra, the worship of Mithra never totally goes away.
Yeah.
Right. There are strains of it. And so when Mithraism in the Roman Empire rises, right, there is this connection back into the past. But let's talk about that for a second.
Right? Yeah.
Because how do you decide when something started? Religiously, a religious phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean, there's usually no one there recording.
Yeah, right. Well, and how do you decide what is part of the same phenomenon and what isn't?
Yeah, when is it a new
Right.
religion? When is it, unfortunately, it's not neat and tidy where you get, like Scientology in the 1950s or whatever, where literally there's
Right.
a guy who says, I invented a new religion.
Yeah. Well, and for example, famously, or it used to be famously, I don't know if anybody knows about this anymore, but Dearman McCulloch, when he put out his 1-volume history of Christianity, it was called Christianity the First 3,000 Years.
Yes.
Right?
Very sly.
Because the threads, right, the theological and religious threads that become Christianity start during the reign of King David, essentially. He argues, right? And so you've got to start there and trace those threads up to and through Jesus of Nazareth in order to, right, get the whole history of Christianity, right? But there was nothing called Christianity in the first millennium BC, right? So we're going to spend basically most of the rest of tonight talking about Roman Mithraism, right? Mithraism in the Roman Empire, which is an AD phenomenon.
Yeah.
But you will see people talking about it who will say, oh, this is far more ancient than Christianity.
Right.
This starts at 1000 BC or 1500 BC.
I mean,
because that's where somebody's worshiping Mithra, right?
Yeah. I mean, there is Mithra worship, but probably doesn't look like the Roman version.
At all.
Yeah. It's
At
probably much more like most other paganism.
Right.
Where it's community cult, it's public sacrifices, all the usual idolatry, all the usual stuff.
Right. Like we would all say Islam starts with Muhammad, but of course Muslims would say it starts with Abraham.
Yeah, right. Or right? Adam.
Or even Adam, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So these things can be slippery. But the Mithraism we're going to be talking about, the Mithraism that people try to compare to Christianity, the Mithraism that is Mithraism, right? Not just the worship of a god Mithra, from whom, in a distant way, right, Mithraism is derived, is an AD phenomenon. Okay. We're just giving you here some prehistory, right? So you know where this came from, right? So, just as a spoiler, our next episode, that's going to come out on Thanksgiving, and it's going to be pre-recorded because Father Andrew, again, loves his family more than you, the listener. You can decide whether that's appropriate or not.
I love them more than you, Father Stephen.
I know. It's hard to believe, given what a delight I am. But
them's facts.
Yeah. So it's going to be pre-recorded, but we're going to be talking about other mystery cults in the Roman world. And so, for example, there's the mysteries of Demeter, right? Well, where do the mysteries of Demeter begin? Do they begin the first time somebody tells the story of Demeter and Persephone?
Yeah.
Do they begin the first time someone worships a goddess named Demeter?
Yeah.
Right? Well, no, not really. Right? That's the mysteries of Demeter begin the first time the mysteries of Demeter are celebrated.
Yeah, the particular actual practices.
Yes. So, name of the figure aside, the Mithraism we're going to be focusing on is a particular form of worship of this god. The fact that there was a god with that name and some similar features preceding that does not mean that the religious phenomenon preceded that. Right? But before we move to Roman Mithraism, proper, a last note. So there are two places in the Bible, one if you're a Protestant, where the name Mithra occurs. Both of them are just somebody's name.
Yeah.
It's a theophoric name of a Persian official in the Persian Empire. So the first place, which even our Protestant friends have, is in Ezra chapter 1 verse 8 and chapter 4 verse 7, where there is a dude named Mithridates who is Cyrus' treasurer. And then if you've got a little bit beefier Old Testament, then in First Esdras, chapter 2, verses 8 and 12, there's another Mithridates, spelled slightly differently in Greek, but basically the same name, because they're both being transliterated from Persian Aramaic, who is a court official for Artaxerxes, for later Persian emperor. Either spelling, the name means gift of Mithra. So there may have been, that may be the result of like the parents having taken an oath, right? Something if they were given a child to Mithra.
Well, and also, like,
given the
it was a ridiculously popular name in a number of dynasties related to, that region. So, super.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that it may have been a custom to name your kid gift of Mithra if you made some kind of, maybe you made some kind of vow to Mithra to have a child. You know what I mean? Yeah. Since he's the guy who enforces that sort of thing. And then if you had the child, you better, do your thing.
Yeah. Or you might just be naming your kid after the emperor,
Well, that too. Yeah. That becomes popular too.
There's a lot of those
figures with that name who, have people named after them. Those are two places. First Esdras, by the way, is a fascinating book, because it is a separate book in the Greek tradition, and it gets translated by Saint Jerome into Latin. And it is a chunk of Ezra and a chunk of Second Chronicles, kind of smushed and edited together. Which presents this weird, it's one of the weirder conundrums. So, I know how the Protestant Roman Catholic debates, because Orthodox people usually don't engage in this, but the Protestant Roman Catholic debates about quote unquote the Apocrypha, by which they're referring to, in the case of the Latin canon, the seven, the 7 extra books and the extension and the added bits of Daniel and Esther. It's all about like Protestants saying Josephus was inerrant, and Roman Catholics saying no, the Council of Trent is inerrant. That was kind of a cheap shot at Protestants, but all of a sudden Josephus is right about everything when it comes to
I know
the canon.
He's like this kind of semi-canonical figure.
Non-Christian Jew.
Not the church fathers. Not the church fathers, but Josephus. Yeah.
Yes, and one of the most treacherous Pharisees to ever live, since he was a Roman sympathizer and collaborator.
I know.
Right? Like, but anyway, but he knew the canon, darn it. But anyway, so it's all about, who has the authority to decide the canon list, right? And that's boring, right? The more interesting discussion is discussing the actual texts themselves.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them being utilized in the New Testament, for example, and what's going on with the text. And so this is a good example. I think First Esdras is a good example because it's like, okay, you're going to say this isn't canonical, but like pretty much all the contents under the Protestant canon are canonical, just not in this form. Right? Because if you say Second Chronicles and Ezra are both canonical, that's like 97% of the content of First Esdras.
Yeah.
The other 3% are a few added details and stuff joining them together, right? Linking things together. But the content's pretty much the same. So, yeah, you kind of have to argue that the content is canonical, but the text into which that content has been put, or this particular arrangement of that content, is non-canonical. And then what does that even mean? That an arrangement of text is uncanonical.
Just means like they don't want to put it in their Bible.
It becomes errant if you rearrange it.
Yeah, apparently.
Well, that's going to cause you some big Jeremiah problems.
It's the name of my next side project for a band. Big Jeremiah
problems?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's a better album title.
I don't know. Yeah.
Good band title. But
well, as a band, it's kind of like an indie band, I think,
okay.
Yeah.
In the vein of Better Than Ezra.
We're big Jeremiah problems. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
Okay. All right.
I'll give you that one. But so, now, finally, we will begin to touch on the actual topic of tonight's show, which is Roman Mithraism. And as we were just saying, at some length, in this Roman Mithraism, the religious phenomenon we're actually talking about here, postdates Christianity.
Yeah, the Roman form. Yeah. Not by a ton. Right.
But by a little, right? So our best guess is that the Mithraism, Roman Mithraism as we know it, and as we're going to talk about it, emerges roughly in the time of Nero. Not because we have material talking about it from the time of Nero. We don't. We have material talking about it for the first time, like in Dio Cassius, at the end of the 1st century AD. But that material at the end of the 1st century AD talks about it beginning during the time of Nero.
Yeah.
Right. So that's, 35 years after Nero, right? They're saying it emerged in the time of Nero. The time of Nero is when we have the earliest mentions of Christianity, by the way, and Christianity, right? Like Christ died and rose again about 30 years before that. So checks out, right? And you may be saying, well, okay, so Mithraism does only postdates Christianity by what, 30 years or so? And I say, friend of the show, Bart Ehrman, thinks 30 years in terms of the writing of the Gospels is this huge chasm. So,
yeah, right. It was 30 years before they wrote any of this down. I'm like, Dr. Ehrman, you just need to check out the entire, pretty much anything before, like, I don't know, the Renaissance. Because
no, and people have given him pushback on that. I've seen people give him pushback on this.
Yeah.
Right, where they point out, like, you you could put together a pretty good, just from talking to people, you could put together a pretty good and pretty reliable oral history of the first Iraq War right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
which was like 35 years right now. Talking to people who are involved, veterans and stuff. If you try to do that with the Korean War right now, you're going to have a really hard time.
Yeah.
Or World War II. If you're going to do it just by talking to still living humans.
Right. But I mean, 30 years, like
time.
You and I are 50, Father. We could easily write stories about stuff that was 30 years ago and be very accurate.
35 years ago. Yes. I remember it. Like
right. As do I. Yeah.
The way back
no, it's a great chasm, Father. It's like an age.
Yes. Way back when you could walk all the way to the gate with your loved ones as they got on a plane.
Oh, man. I remember that. That wasn't even 30 years ago.
I'm joyful that finally, 24 years after some idiot lit his shoes on fire, I now no longer have to take off my shoes at an airport. I am grateful for that. The only thing I'm grateful for about flying, but and that's more like I'm happy they stopped abusing me, but still. So we're talking about this is a mid to late first century AD thing that really becomes a phenomenon. Again, not that there weren't people out in their closets, and people out in the hinterlands worshiping Mithra. There sure were. And there may have even been, in the 40s or even 30s AD, people coming up with, forming the first little groups to practice what became Roman Mithraism, right? But as a sort of semi-organized phenomenon that anybody noticed and had any kind of following, we're talking about Nero's time and later. So we're talking about, 65, AD 65 and later. And it really becomes popular. It really becomes popular and widespread in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So primarily as a phenomenon, Mithraism is in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. By the time you get to St. Constantine, it takes a massive hit from St. Constantine, because as we're going to talk about in a minute, Roman Mithraism was primarily a religion practice within the Roman military.
Yeah, it was like a military religion.
Yeah. And St. Constantine, remember, go see our episode on St. Constantine if you want more about this. One of the things he did was he removed all of the pagan rites from the Roman military.
Yep.
Including even stuff like sacrifices before going into battle, and replaced them with priests serving the Eucharist.
Yeah, he basically creates
soldiers,
Christian chaplaincy.
Yes. And then, in general, by the time you get to St. Theodosius, he pretty much abolishes paganism as such, including Mithraism, right? As Roman emperor at the end of the 4th century. Okay, so 2nd and 3rd century is sort of the apex, and then they have a really rough 4th century and don't make it out of the 4th century.
Yeah, so at best, it exists as a religion for maybe 350 years? Plus or minus?
Exists at all, yeah. And really, you're talking about more like 250, where it was ascendant and popular.
Yeah.
But it was very popular during that period in certain circles. Because we have archaeologically, we have a lot of Mithraea.
Yeah, and we'll explain the way Mithraea work, whatever. But basically, for now, all you need to know is a Mithraeum is a physical location where the rituals of Mithraism are practiced.
Right. And there are, for reasons we'll talk about in our second half, they are recognizable. There are distinguishing features that let you know, oh, this is a Mithraeum. But yeah, Mithraeum is the singular, Mithraea is the plural.
Yep.
And we've found Mithraea from Syria to Britain and everywhere in between.
Yeah, I mean, just about everywhere the Roman Empire was.
That's the two frontiers. That's the eastern frontier and the northwestern frontier.
I think the greatest number of them is like in Germany, which is fun. Yeah,
which is another frontier place.
Yeah, there's two in. I think there's two that are known. No, sorry, there's four that are known in the UK, and I just a couple of weeks ago, I was actually quite near one of them at Hadrian's Wall. I didn't actually get to see it. I didn't get out that far, but I don't know, I was probably within 10 miles of it or so. So, yep.
I bet it was that guy you were with, Deacon Seraphim Mountbatten Windsor, if that is his real name.
Wow.
He probably had some kind of gastrointestinal discomfort and wouldn't let you go to the Mithraeum.
Now it's very, very spicy.
Something like that.
I'm surprised you would make such spicy jokes about people who are in the UK. Although, actually, the UK is a great place to get curries. But
yeah, but that's not exactly native.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. So the reason you find them concentrated in places like Syria, Britain, Germany, out at the frontiers is, as we mentioned, its main center of popularity was within the Roman military, whereas the Roman military garrisoned out on the frontiers of the empire.
That's right. So that's where the army is, so that's where these religious practices are.
Yes, at these Roman fortifications. And so that's where you find Mithraea. That's who it's really popular with. Now, in addition to being very popular within the Roman military, only men could participate in Roman Mithraism.
Yeah, that's right. There's no Order of the Eastern Star for Mithraists.
He-Man Woman Haters Club, no girls allowed.
Right. I mean, we don't make up the rules. This is the way that it is.
And unlike, I mean, and this is unlike other Roman paganism, right? Because there's no like women as shrine prostitutes or anything, right? Like there's no women, right, involved at all, right?
Yeah, this is a purely male religion.
Yes, and you got to factor this into account, right? We've talked about this on the show before, that when you're talking about like, especially 2nd century Christianity, it's primarily, the converts are primarily women and slaves.
Yeah.
And we know that from several places, including the fact that the pagans looked down on Christians in part because it was a religion of women and slaves, right? That's, but Christianity treated them as human beings.
Yeah, which is crazy.
Go figure, right? It was a religion that they could fully participate in, whereas they can't even get near a Mithraeum, right? So not an option for anybody except Roman freemen, many of whom were in the military.
Yep.
So in our next half, we'll talk about what they got up to in the Mithraea.
Yep. All right. Well, we've begun our dive into Mithraism here on this episode of Lord of Spirits podcast. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the second half.
Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung will be back in a moment to take your calls on the next part of the Lord of Spirits. Give them a call at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF-RADIO.
Poised between East and West, between Orthodox and Catholic, Lithuania, the last of Europe's pagan nations, did not forget its ancient tales such as that of the giantess Neringa, Egle, Queen of Serpents, and the Iron Wolf. Rather, they fulfilled and enriched them with legends like the Hill of Crosses and the miracle-working icon of Our Lady of the Gate of the Dawn. In The Wolf and the Cross, Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Deacon Seraphim Richard Rowland take a very personal pilgrimage into a land where history and legend have met and fused, where Orthodox Christians have lived as a minority for nearly 7 centuries, their faith founded upon the blood of martyrs and the witness of dozens of saints. To find this book and others like it, you can go to store.ancientfaith.com. Again, that is store.ancientfaith.com.
We're back now with the Lord of Spirits, with Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung. If you have a question, call now at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF-RADIO.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. Second half of this episode of the Lord of Spirits podcast. And already we have a caller who's calling in who wants to discuss the spicy remarks, Father, that you made about the pan heresy of ecumenism. So are you ready, Father?
They're pro-pan heresy?
I don't know. We'll find out. So, Jordan, welcome to the Lord of Spirits podcast.
Hi, Fathers, bless.
God bless you. So what's on your mind?
So I lied about my question, so I'm sorry.
Oh!
I am interested.
I told them they could do that, so.
Yeah, exactly. I am interested to hear what Father Stephen meant. I haven't heard a negative take on ecumenism, at least not that to that extent. But I'm a catechumen, and I've been reading a bunch of stuff, and the concept of the Trinity really bothers me, and I've asked some priests about it, and I just can't conceptualize when we say that the Holy Trinity is one mind, and I don't see how that doesn't become a modalism, or the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit being different forms of the one God. And I was hoping that maybe you guys would be able to just conceptualize that. And I know it's a mystery, at some extent, and we can't fully comprehend. But I mean, the only way that I've been able to make sense of it is there must be some type of mind that is the one mind, and then a different mind that we would say that correlates to the personhood.
One mind. That's not.
That's not one of the. Yeah, that's not a thing.
I was going to say, where are you getting that language, Jordan? I'm racking my brain. I'm like, I don't remember actually coming across that phrase in any of our liturgical texts talking about the Holy Trinity. I mean, maybe one of the church fathers uses that phrase.
I got it from
somewhere.
Divine Energy, the book Divine Energy by, I think, Braun,
Father Thomas Braun. So I've read that book, but it's been a long time. But I would have to look and see what he meant by that. Maybe what he means is something like one will.
Because that's the Orthodox doctrine of the Trinity, right? Is that you have the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, who are not the same person, right?
Yeah.
They are 3 persons. And then they are one in a series of ways, right? There are a series of ways in which they are one. The 3 are one. And so one of those is that they are one in essence, meaning they're the same thing. That's what homoousios means. It means the same thing.
Yeah.
Meaning one of them isn't sort of more God than the others, right? Including the Father. They're all the same thing. One of those is that now this is the sort of upward direction, right? They receive one worship because the Son and the Spirit are the exact image of the Father, and so the worship received by the Son and the Spirit passes to the prototype. This is where St. Basil the Great first uses that principle, and so they are worshipped as one by us. And then, more directly related to your question, the three persons, and this is in a descending way, are one in nature, will, and energy.
Yeah.
And those three things are related ideas. So nature is a sort of directedness of being, right? So the three persons are not oriented in different directions. They are oriented in the same direction. And then will, right? The concept of will is a function of nature. Will is a sort of internal drive or force or push in the direction of nature.
Yeah.
Right. So they are all, this is a crude analogy, but pointed in the same direction and moving in the same direction. Right. And then energia, in working, their activity is one in that they then, because they're oriented in the same direction, moving in the same direction, then their activity, and that activity is generally experienced, we're talking about activity, the divine energies, activity experienced in creation, that is all one. So those are the ways in which the three persons are one. The Holy Trinity is not, in the Orthodox understanding, three and one in the same sense.
Right.
They are three in some senses and one in other senses.
Yeah, it's
right.
Not just pure contradiction.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one mind, when you use that one mind phrase, Jordan, I mean, that just immediately, obviously it struck both of us as like, what? Because it's not the usual language for sure.
Right. And it's not even clear what that would signify. Like, it seems like as you said, that sounds like you're saying there's one consciousness, right? Or one, and that sounds an awful lot like one person. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I think that's, I'll say this I'll try to be charitable, which is rare for me, but, and just say, I think that way of expressing it is not helpful and causes confusion.
Yeah. Yep. So I think I always say, look, it's just best to stick with the language that one finds, particularly in the liturgical services, because it's pretty conventional by this point, the kinds of ways that we talk about God's oneness and threeness in the hymns that we sing.
Yeah. And you could also, if you want a primary source on this, you could read St. Gregory of Nyss's Why There Are Not Three Gods.
There you go. Well, I hope that helps, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. Well, rolling right along.
Nice.
So,
the rebellion against the shackles of call screening continues.
Now that he's done that, people are going to be left and right telling Mike all kinds of things, and then we'll cut them off, Mike. So yeah, I mean, is there's like a big, Boy Scout manual somewhere that someone's uploaded to the internet telling all the secret rituals of Mithraism that we can all read?
No.
So how do we know?
There is no Mithrist Joseph Smith to spill the beans on Freemasonry.
I want to trigger some more Masons. I mean, come on. And anti-Masons, too.
Well, I just triggered Masons and Mormons all at once.
That's right. Yeah.
But, yeah, so what are our sources for knowing about Roman Mithraism? Well, we don't have a lot. We've got some things, but we don't have the things we'd like to have. We'll put it that way. In that we have no primary texts. We have no texts from Mithraists.
Yeah.
We have none of the texts that they might have used amongst themselves.
Yep.
We have nobody spilling the beans, which we do. Next episode, where we're talking about other mystery cults, a bunch of the other Greek and Roman mystery cults, there are people who spilled the beans. There are people who are like, yeah, I went through that. Here's what they do. Yeah. Right.
And so there's no texts to read from the ancient, no primary text. And there's a lot of possible reasons why this is the case. The two biggest ones probably are, number one, history destroys texts. Like the majority of texts written in the ancient world are gone forever. The vast majority. It's so sad. It's just the way that it is. And the other thing, of course, this is a secretive cult. So like they have a vested interest in not revealing what it is that they're doing.
Yes, you're not supposed to spill the beans.
Yeah. So that would also limit, the fact that it might get written down somewhere or whatever.
They weren't making lots of copies of whatever texts they had.
Yeah.
Right. And history destroys texts. And, having your cult get outlawed destroys texts.
That'll do it too.
Either actively, right? That doesn't always mean, I know there's these images fostered by internet atheists that Christians were just running around burning all these texts. That was actually fairly rare.
Yeah.
It's just, if nobody's copying them, they deteriorate and they go away.
That's the biggest thing is it's not like there's some big data dump somewhere that they burned down. It's that if you don't copy it, then it just goes away. Yeah.
And people, the Library of Alexandria did not burn down.
Yeah.
It never happened. It did not burn down.
Yeah.
So if you hear someone say Christians burned it down, they're doubly stupid.
Yeah. Actually, this will be the second time I mentioned that show in this episode, but the Rest is History podcast has a great episode on the Library of Alexandria and what it wasn't largely.
Yes. And part of where that myth comes from is there was a fire there at a certain point, but it did not destroy the whole library. It was like a small little bit.
Yep.
And it was not set by Christians either. But so if anyone comes to you and says Christians burned down the Library of Alexandria, they're stupid, because number one, it didn't burn down, so nobody burned it down. But they're not only confidently telling you that something that never happened, they're telling you who did the thing that never happened.
Yeah. I mean, the reality is, since we're on this little discursus about Christianity and texts, is of all the religious traditions that have ever existed in the world, the most text-generating, text-saving, text-copying, text-loving religion ever is Christianity. And in many cases, literacy came to cultures because Christianity showed up.
Yes. Long before sola scriptura was an idea in anyone's mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way. And they were copying texts other than the Bible to prove it.
Right. Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey, while we're ranting, all those Greek philosophical texts were preserved in the Muslim world by Greek monks.
It's true.
Okay.
Or even Greek mythological texts. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
And one last note, because I used the term stupid, and I know some of our, how dare you say someone is stupid? How dare you,
Father?
Right? They're going to get mad. I'm causing emotional harm to people with my words. I know. But, okay, stupid. I use the word stupid as a technical term. Okay? Someone who is ignorant about things is not stupid. We're all ignorant. I am ignorant about more things than I know about. Like, if you listed all the possible topics someone could know about, right? I am ignorant of way more than 51% of them, right? So being ignorant does not make you stupid. What makes someone stupid, in the way I use it, is they don't know anything about a topic, and they're speaking very confidently about that topic.
Yeah.
Someone who doesn't know what they don't know is a stupid person. Okay? So, and I don't feel bad about saying that, because that's bad behavior that should be avoided. If you don't know anything about a topic, I'll even let you comment on it as long as you're not super self-assured, right? As long as you say, I don't know a lot about this, but I think I'll be nice about it, right? But
yeah,
you come to me and say something like Christians burned down the Library of Alexandria, I will laugh at you. I do more emotional harm with my words. I will hurt your feelings and not feel bad about it. Okay, back to our topic. And send your angry emails about that to Father Andrew at Ancient Faith. About what a mean, horrible person I am. So we don't have the texts, right? We don't have the texts. What we do have, the biggest thing we have, is the archaeology of the Mithraea themselves. Yeah. So we've got a lot of data from that. The problem with archaeology as a source is all that data has to be interpreted, right? And normally we would use things like texts to guide our interpretation, but we don't have the texts. So there's not really a solid guide for our interpretation of the archaeological data. And so you get a lot of theories.
Yeah.
When you read literature about Mithraism, there's this one guy, Condon, who was the guy for most of the 20th century. And then in the 1970s, everybody decided all of his reconstructions were all wet. And now nobody really accepts them. And now you've got everybody has their own ways of putting the data together and their own theories. And the good ones presented as, well, here's my theory, and here's why I think this theory is better than other theories. But until and unless we find some actual texts or something from the original Mithras, we're not going to know for sure who's reconstructing it the right way. Okay. So lots of data, but how certain we can be about the interpretation of that data, very limited. The other source we have is we have comments and brief descriptions of different things about Mithraism in the church fathers of the 2nd and 3rd century. Now, I love the church fathers. The church fathers are great, but it's not like they talk about Mithraism a lot. It's not like we have a lot of writings of church fathers from those centuries in the first place. So we've got relatively few writings from church fathers in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. Most of those are not talking about Mithraism, right? So we've got these little bits and pieces in their texts. And when they do mention Mithraism, they're like attacking Mithraism. So they're not setting out to like, here, let me explain Roman Mithraism to you, and then I will offer a detailed critique, right? It's an offhand reference to the demonic wickedness of Mithraism in doing X or Y.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's not unhelpful. It's not irrelevant. There are some details that we get about Mithraism that we wouldn't know otherwise this way. So it is helpful, but it's not enough. And it's not the kind of thing where we can really get some kind of full orbed picture, right, of what Mithraism looked like in the Roman Empire. So as we go through the rest of this half of the program, we're going to be trying to give you the data we have, right? And some possible interpretations based on that data. We can't, anything that falls into the realm of interpretation, we can't be sure of.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
when archaeology, you got a bunch of stuff, and you look at that stuff, and you have to try to figure out what it was used for, what it might have meant to the people who used it. But if you have no one there to explain it and no text to describe what's going on, at best you got guesses. You can do context clues. You can compare it against other things, you know, but still, like, it's still a bunch of stuff. You know, you might not know what it's for. You might not know what a particular symbol means. You can guess. So that's, you know, these are educated guesses.
Yeah. And there are certain ways of testing things. You talk about explanatory power and stuff, right? So for example, if someone comes and says, oh, one of the key things in a Mithraeum is this, and then you look at all the excavations of Mithraea and you find out, well, only 2 of them have that thing. You're like, well, that can't really have been a key element, right?
Yeah.
Maybe an element, but that can't have been the main thing, right? So there are ways you could, it's not that just it's anybody's guess, right?
No, right.
But it's also, you can't be like 100% certain this is what they did. They did this at this time. It took this long. These are the words they said. This is, nothing like that, right? Can we have any real assuredness about? So that said, what do we see when we look at the Mithraea? The ones we have. So a Mithraea is basically a fake cave.
Yeah. It's cut out usually, or sometimes built.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be like a cave. And so why would you make a fake cave? It's because the cave itself is important, right? Like you want, the cave is part of the event. It's not just a space. Like you could build a building. It's not just a space, but obviously the cave has some kind of meaning.
Right.
In it.
And they didn't make it look like a pagan temple.
Yeah.
Right. There's a sort of normal Roman pagan temple structure, and this is different. Right. And so the fact that it's a fake cave is one of the differences. Right. Because normal pagan temples were not made to look like caves. There were temples in caves, but those were actual caves. They didn't build a temple to look like a cave. So that's important. It's also important to note that, obviously we know the size. We know how big they were, right? Because even in the ones that are the most broken down, we've got the exterior walls, right? So we can see how big the space was, right? And the biggest ones, the largest ones, could hold maybe 40, 45 people.
Which suggests that even though this was basically a military religion, the vast majority of soldiers were not participants in it.
Right.
Just a small group.
Right. So this is a subgroup, and they're gathering by themselves to do this, going off into this place, right, to do it. And this was, they weren't building to receive converts. Right. Like there's a certain exclusivism to it, right? When you're only building at that small size.
Yeah.
And so there's basically two chambers or two rooms, right? Two spaces, in a Mithraeum. There's an outer space, like an entry space, which we know from the archaeology contained, water sources that were used for washing. So sometimes, depending on where it was and the context, sometimes that was just basically a basin of water. Sometimes that was actually moving water diverted from an aqueduct to flow through the Mithraeum in more established settings. And then in that same chamber, based on textile and fabric samples, we know they had some kind of specialized garments, likely related to their sort of level of initiation that we'll talk about here in a few minutes.
Yeah.
That they would put on before going into the main chamber of the Mithraeum. So when they were coming to do the rituals in the main room of the Mithraeum, they would come into this room, take off their regular clothes, wash themselves, put on their fancy robes, right? Whatever kind of, and we don't know exactly what, we don't have any intact ones, right? We just have a bunch of sort of oddly colored fabric samples, right? That's why we're concluding this, that there were some kind of garments, specialized garments in this room. So then the main body of the Mithraeum was a dining hall.
Which, that's very much to be expected with, frankly, any religious building from the ancient world.
Well, the temples had dining halls.
Yeah, exactly. Temples have dining halls. That's a normal thing to expect.
But the temple itself was not primarily a dining hall.
Yeah. So the main space here seems to be the eating space, and we know that because there's like bones and stuff that were found there, animal bones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's this the dining hall here is the main space, but the dining hall has some of the things that you would normally find in a pagan temple in the dining hall, right? In the sense that the dining hall was sort of a straight room with an apse. And then in the apse would be sort of the central image, right? The central idol, right? Of the cult, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And then there were sort of frescoes around the rest of the dining hall, like iconography, depicting iconographic scenes involving Mithras. We'll be talking about those here as we go in this half. And then, so the main body of the room, the apse, has the central main image. And then the main body of the room, there are benches along the sides, right, for the dining hall.
Yeah, and there's photos online of this. So if you look up Mithraeum, Mithraeum, you can see either archaeological pictures, or there's some like reconstructions of them that you can see to see what this would have looked like.
Yeah. Okay. So the aforementioned central image, which is the same in all of them. Now, there are different versions of this. There's sort of freestanding statue versions. There's sort of bas-relief versions, but it's always this image, right? This prominent place of the apse, which is the tauroctony.
Tauroctony, yeah. Which means...
That's today's secret word. Whenever you hear it, scream real loud.
Everyone scream real loud. Which means bull slaying. Slaying, tauroctony. Yes,
and if you've ever, any time anyone mentions Mithras, right, anywhere online, someone will post the, one of the stock photos from Getty Images or wherever of the tauroctony, of Mithras slaying the bull. Okay. But there are a number of details in this central image that are important beyond just it's a guy killing a bull, right? And guy killing a bull, I mean, Gilgamesh and Enkidu, right? They kill the bull of heaven, right? Like, I mean, killing a bull, that's all over the place in ancient paganism, right? But so the details here are important in terms of thinking about Mithraism as such, right? So Mithras is slaying the bull of heaven. Mithras is always dressed. We're going to kind of go through the details first and then talk about interpreting them.
Yes, people in the chat are really excited about this particular detail, Father.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. I don't know why. They're really into it.
Slaying the bull of heaven, and he's wearing a Phrygian cap and a cape.
Phrygian cap. That's the real term, everybody.
Yes.
Phrygian cap.
The Phrygian cap. We're going to talk more about Phrygian caps.
Yep.
And their amazing history.
Yep.
Up to this very day. And Mithras is slaying the bull by he has one hand with his fingers in the nostrils of the bull, pulling it upwards. Yeah. And then the other hand is plunging a knife into the side of the bull.
Yeah.
Kill it. Okay. There are then ears of corn sprouting from the bull's backside, his hindquarters.
Yep. And if you want to see a complete image of what we're talking about, look up tauroctony, TAUROCTONY. Just Google image that, and you can see all of this stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So he's getting nose pulled, stabbed. Corn is coming out of his rear end. Ears of corn.
Yep.
And there's a snake and a dog drinking the bull's blood.
Yeah, lapping it up as it's coming out.
It's coming out of the wound. And a scorpion grabbing the bull's genitals. I can only assume to add insult to injury. This bull is having a very bad day.
I really need a Symbolic World episode about
Yes, we really need Pajot.
Please.
If you hear this, I want an episode on the tauroctony image.
Jonathan Pajot, we are requesting this from you. Please.
Yes.
Please do.
Weigh in, if you would.
And if he's not listening, somebody contact him. Write him an email.
Point him to this. Now. When this is on YouTube, when this is all said and done on YouTube, put a timestamp in the comments.
Or Jonathan, if you're listening right now, please call in. We want to discuss this.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
Exactly.
What time is it in Canada right now?
Well, they've got a lot of different times in Canada.
Do they still have the internet in Kanakistan? Anyway. And then finally, in terms of details, Mithras has 2 helpers who are dressed exactly like him with the Phrygian caps and the capes, named Cautes and Cautapates, who are both holding torches. And they look just like him, but they're smaller. They're sort of little mini-me's. Right? They're hanging out with him. Okay? So, hearing no phone call from Peugeot, we will forge ahead on our own. What's that all about?
I don't know. I don't know. Should we declare another Lord of Spirits Symbolic World Blood feud? It might be time. It's been a while.
We're issuing a fatwa on all of French-speaking Canada.
He is the world's second greatest Canadian, though.
Yes, second greatest French Canadian. Everybody's second or third favorite French Canadian, Jonathan Peugeot. So what's all that about? Right?
Yes. What is going on? What is going on in this?
What is even happening in this image? Right? Okay.
It's so bizarre.
A couple of things, right? So first of all, the whole slaying of the bull motif, the slaying of the bull of heaven motif, right? This is a creation event motif, right? But you have to remember what creation means in a pagan context, right?
Yeah.
Pagans who didn't really believe the world had a beginning.
Yeah, so it's about like taking chaos and turning it into order, or sometimes it's actually about taking order, turning it into chaos, and then order again.
Right. So it's reinitiating the cycle.
Yeah, tearing something apart or putting something that's been
everything goes in this cycle. So this is reinitiating the cycle. It's creation in that sense, right?
Yeah.
And this cyclical thing is important in interpreting a whole bunch of things in this image. This cyclical idea. So Phrygian caps are a whole thing in the ancient world. So
this is what everyone wants to talk about.
Yes. Historically, Phrygian caps were originally just hats that they wore in Persia.
Right.
These Persian hats. Right. That's but so then they become a way, as depicted in iconography and art in Europe, for example, in points west, to depict something or someone as being Persian.
Yeah, it's just like, for instance, a beret might signal Frenchness to Americans, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, and a striped shirt and a little scarf tied around their neck and a baguette in their bicycle basket. You are so racist, like Father Eder. Anyway. That's okay. I went out. First time I was in England, I saw a commercial for frozen pizzas. And they had one that was French style, and they had a guy dressed exactly like that with a fake mustache to represent France. And then they had, you could just imagine what the Italian guy looked like. But then I felt attacked because the third one was American style, and it was, of course, a cowboy.
Yeah, I strongly suspect sometime, and we have a number of people that are tuning in from abroad right now. I strongly suspect sometimes that a lot of people who are not Americans and have never been to the United States, that there's basically two kinds of Americans. There's Texans and there's New Yorkers. And I think that's what America is for a lot of our friends that are overseas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
But there's much more to it than that.
There's so much more, you guys.
There's Southern Louisiana. There are 5 people in Montana. So it's just a way, right? And so really in this context, right, the Phrygian caps are a way of identifying Mithras and his compatriots as being from the East.
Yeah.
Right. It's a kind of early Orientalism on the part of the Romans. Now, here's the interesting thing. Phrygian Caps this is kind of a digression, but it's interesting, so I don't care. Phrygian Caps have a kind of interesting afterlife in that they show up again, right? I mean, they pop up here and there at art when they're trying to draw a Persian, you give them that kind of hat. But then they make this sudden reappearance in the American and French revolutions. And the Phrygian cap in both the U.S. and French revolutions becomes a symbol of the goddess Liberty.
Yeah, what's that about? Why?
Because it's almost like in the American Revolution and the French Revolution, they were trying to return to pre-Christian paganism. When they rejected the divine right of kings. It's almost like that.
Almost like that.
Almost like they built a capital with all Roman architecture and started a republic. But anyway.
But then also a piece of popular entertainment that is largely about a group of guys.
Scandinavian in origin.
Called the Smurfs. They're all wearing Phrygian caps.
Yes.
What is up with that?
This is connecting them to Mithraism. So your grandma was right. The Smurfs are satanic.
I knew it.
They are little demons.
I mean, the cat is named Azrael, and that is literally the angel of death.
Right, but Gargamel's the bad guy.
Right? He's the one trying to exterminate these little demons.
Well, no, he wants to eat them.
Well,
that's what's really interesting to me, because, like, that's not, I don't think that's cannibalism, technically, because...
No, not the same species.
He's a human, and the Smurfs are technically not.
Yeah. And then Smurfette is basically a magically created golem.
Yeah, she is. Yes. Yeah. Originally created to do evil.
That's right. That's right.
When she had dark hair, and then she gets blonde hair and becomes good. So there's like some racism.
Wow.
But anyway.
Clearly she has good genes.
Scandinavian racism.
There you go. Okay. Where were we? Smurfs. Okay, so what's the deal?
So that aside about the Phrygian cap, right?
That's what's the deal with the corn or wheat? Or is this the British usage of the term corn? Meaning all...
No, these are, well, sort of, yeah. In the sense that, right, the idea here is this is about fertility in crops and harvest.
Yeah.
Right? So reinitiating the cycle again. Right? And... the animals, right? What you're going, okay, it's a bull, and then you got like a scorpion and a snake and a dog, right? And a really nasty scorpion.
Yes.
But right, these are astrological symbols. These are constellations, right? Canis, right? Scorpio, right? And so, including the bull, Taurus, right? The animals depicted, again, this is the astrological cycle.
Yeah.
Right? And then you've got the two mini-me's, Caudes and Catrapades. And Caudes, we said they both have torches. Caudes has his torch, he's holding it up. And Catrapades has his torch and he's pointing it at the ground, so it's down. Right? And so there's a bunch of theories about this, but this is, I take a Porque no los cuatro on this. So there are people who will say this is, they represent spring and autumn, right? Spring and fall, right? Or sunrise and sunset, or just the beginning and end of life, or the 2 points at which the moon crosses the ecliptic, because they're going with the astrological constellation thing with the animals and where they're placed in the image. Beginning and end of the cycle, right? And I think all of those, right? Yes, all four of those are contained in this idea, right? And so there's this idea of the ordering of creation out of chaos, right? Things collapse and are reborn. Things deteriorate and new life grows out of it, right? This whole cyclical thing. The idea is that in this image, Mithras is the one reinitiating the cycle, right? And if you're, out at Hadrian's Wall in a British winter, and you're a nice Italian boy, that kind of seems like death, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a nice part of the country, but I also do not come from Italy.
Right. You're not Mediterranean born and bred, right? So the idea is, you would want someone to come and reinitiate, right? That cycle, restart it again, right? And bring crops. So while we don't have any primary texts, we do have one inscription.
Hey, an inscription.
Now at one of these, a yes. Latin inscription. And here's the problem with this is that one of the words in the inscription is kind of scratched up.
Yeah. So what it says is et nos servasti, and then the scratched word, sanguine fuso, which the scratched word.
You favor the Italian pronunciation of the Latin, clearly.
Well, there you go. It's ecclesiastical pronunciation.
Hey, it's a me, Mario.
Anyway, yes. The scratched out word might be eternali, but it might be, if it is that, then it's probably misspelled.
That it's spelled wrong.
Yeah, which is not impossible. I mean,
right. It could be a misspelled inscription.
Yeah, there's a lot of
our military guys,
including misspelled inscriptions. I mean, I've seen gravestones that are very embarrassingly misspelled.
Yeah, so that does happen, right?
It does happen.
It could just be misspelled.
So for everybody that's not a classical scholar, Father, what does this possibly mean?
First of all, how dare you?
How dare you?
Not study the classics.
Yeah. What's wrong with you?
What have you been doing with your life? Playing Marvel Rivals on Twitch? Come on.
You mean the magisterial live stream for modernists?
Modernists, yes, exactly.
Yes.
So what that means in Latin, so I'll leave out the scratchy word for now, is you have also saved us by shedding some adjective blood. So if that's eternally misspelled, then it's shedding eternal blood, but it could be something else.
Yeah. Right? Shedding something blood anyway.
Yes. Now, already the excitable among you are going, you have saved us by shedding eternal blood?
Yes, it's salvation.
It's Christianity.
It's Christianity. And as we know, this is where Christianity, this postdates Christianity.
Well, but also, right?
Yes.
We're jumping to a lot of conclusions here.
Saved. What do you mean by saved? Yeah, I mean, like Caesar Augustus was said to be the savior of the world.
Yes.
Like that was what
that clearly means that in his death, Caesar Augustus took upon himself the punishment for the sins of the world.
That's right. He was having the sins of the world imputed upon him.
All that could mean. That's all that could mean.
No, kids. I mean, everybody saved. It literally means rescued. That's
right,
what saved means.
But
rescued.
even within that context, right, it could have a number of applications.
Right. Rescued from what?
And so the reason Caesar Augustus takes the title Savior of the World is that he ended the Roman Civil War.
Yeah.
And restored order.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, he restored order to the world by ending the Roman Civil War and creating the Roman Empire. Right. Yeah. So that's right. And the concept saved here, we're talking about Mithraism, is closer to that than to Christian salvation. Right. The idea by killing the bull, that's the bloodshedding we're talking about here.
Yeah.
Right. By killing the bull of heaven, he has, right, caused ears of corn to fly out of its backside. He has restarted the cycle.
Caused a scorpion to Anyway.
Yes. Yes. Well, the scorpion's there with an assist, right?
Yeah, I mean, it might mean, within context, it might mean something like, you've rescued us from chaos, from winter, from destruction, from
famine,
from famine.
Right, by reinitiating the cycle.
Right.
And bringing good order and life back to the world, right? In this cyclical sense, right? Like this is something that's repeated over and over again, the cycle. Not something that's done once and for all. So that said, that's sort of a brief breakdown of this central image of the Tauroctony. But there's other iconography, as we mentioned. So there's one image that's like super common, and honestly, we have no idea what it's really all about because we don't have a text. We don't have the story. But in the image, there is some water, like a flow of water that has been blocked off. And Mithras is shooting an arrow and destroying the blockage and letting the water flow freely.
Yeah.
And it's over and over again in these Mithraea. And again, we have no idea what the context is.
What that's all about.
Because we just have this image, right? And that seems like something very specific. That seems like something that there's a story surrounding that we don't have, right? That's some particular flow of water, not like water in general, right? Like it was blocked by someone or something and he overcame it, but we don't know what exactly. More important, and the second most common image we see, the second most important image we see after the Tauroctony is Mithras having dinner with the sun. Not S-O-N, S-U-N. Like the sun in the sky. And the sun is usually depicted in ways that match up with either the Greek Helios or the Roman Sol Invictus. Now, at the same time, Mithras is often depicted kind of as the sun. So he is kind of a solar deity in terms of the astrological stuff and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, you know, how if he kind of is the sun, like how is he having dinner with the sun? And this falls under the category of something we've talked about super controversially on the show. It's tricky for people to understand. And this is the concept that of ancient world of one God being a hypostasis of another God. Right? We had a question about the Trinity, so now that question sounds on topic. See? See? We go long enough. But so this is not identical to what we mean when we talk about the hypostases of the Trinity, and the Greek word hypostasis was not used for this in the ancient world. Modern scholars use it for this. Okay?
Yeah.
So with those qualifiers, what we mean when we talk about this is that in ancient paganism, they understood that a single deity could have multiple localized embodiments at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, this is like the basis for idolatry.
Yes, it's the basis for idolatry, but it's also the basis for like Alexander the Great showing up in what would become near what would become Antioch on the Orontes and saying, "Oh, the shrine to Baal, he's basically Zeus."
Yeah. Yeah.
And saying this is a shrine of Zeus Boanerges. So Zeus Boanerges, this particular version of Zeus is Baal, or Baal is a particular version of Zeus, right? The way they understood that working, because like the depictions are different, right? You look at Artemis anywhere other than Ephesus, and she's like this huntress god, right? And then at Ephesus, she's got like fruit hanging all over her.
Yeah, right.
Right. But they understood this as being two different. The modern term for this is that those are two different hypostases of the same deity. Right. So the idea here is that Mithras is another hypostasis of the sun god that probably, again, we don't have text, so we don't know for sure, probably had some kind of familial relationship projected onto it. Like Helios or Sol Invictus was his father, for example.
Yeah, but we don't know.
But we don't know exactly. Could have been brother. Could have been the other way around. Could be Mithras was the father.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Helios or Sol Invictus was his son. They could have been brothers. We don't know. Right, for sure.
Yeah.
But there was probably, given the way this works in paganism, they would have labeled some kind of familial relationship between the two, if they're both associated with the sun.
Yeah.
And so it's not clear in these depictions exactly what they're eating for dinner either.
Yeah, maybe the bull, because that's killed nearby. So
that's the going theory. Almost everyone thinks it's the bull.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
That this is sort of following up on he slays the bull and then serves the bull to the sun god, and they share this meal. And you could see how that could go either way on the familial relationship, right? Like if they thought the son was his father, then he, slays it, brings it to his father as like an offering, or it could go the other way, right? He could be the father and he slays the bull and then provides for, this other deity that's his son, right? I mean, could go all kinds of ways. This is one exhibit of the problem with interpreting archaeological data without any texts, right?
Yeah. You just have to guess.
But so that is very prominent, and we'll get into more of why that's so prominent here in just a second. But we have to do a last little bit of iconography. So Mithras was born from a rock.
Yeah.
He sort of popped forth from a rock.
Pops out of the rock. Pop rock.
Right? Which, as I said to Father Andrew earlier today, I think is being like born in a barrel of butcher knives. It's just about how tough you are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. He's really hardcore. He's really hardcore.
Yes, he's a hard man. Right.
Yeah.
Burst forth from a rock. That's how he was born. But the rock he burst out of was also worshipped within Roman Mithraism.
Crazy.
And the rock was referred to as Petra Genitrix, which basically means mother rock.
Mama rock, yeah.
Yeah. Female parent rock. Female progenitor rock. So not Dwayne Johnson.
And not Simon Barjona.
Yes. But mother rock, and again, they worshipped this rock. So yeah, there's that. So, that's it's not the same as worshiping rock and roll either, right? So the central ritual that's going on in this Mithraeum, as you might expect, since it's a dining hall, is a dinner, right? And this meal was held daily at dinner time in late afternoon, right? The equivalent of around 4 or 5 o'clock, which of course would shift based on sunrise and sunset. Not just seasonally, but where they were in the world, right? Higher latitude, lower latitude, which are very different between like Britain and Syria. That's, but at dinner time, they would gather daily to have this dinner, and this meal was a participation in Mithras' dinner with the sun. And one of the things we found in several of the Mithraea is this bas-relief on a stand that kind of flips around, like it's double-sided. So you can like flip it around from one side to the other. And on one side, the bas-relief is the Tauroctony. And on the other side is the dinner with the sun.
Yeah, which might mean that it's at one point in the ritual you see one side, and then another point in the ritual they flip it around and you see the other side.
So they tell the story of the Tauroctony, for example, with that image facing forward, and then turn it around, and then they have the meal, right? But you get people who have even more elaborate theories based on pretty much nothing. Like, oh, well, clearly, when they had the Tauroctony showing, that was a teaching period.
Yeah, I mean,
where they taught about something.
Right, that's pure speculation.
Yes, and then they turn it around and eat the meal. See, it's just like a Christian liturgy.
Right.
Where there's teaching and then the Eucharist, a meal. See, but that's based on nothing. Yeah. Now that said, Saint Justin being the first, Saint Justin martyr, Saint Justin the philosopher, and then other fathers after him, referred to the meal eaten in the Mithraeum as a parody of the Eucharist. Not that, like, the participants, the Roman soldiers doing it, stole it. For St. Justin, the demons who they're worshiping, right? So Mithras, counties, right? I guess the rock. The demons who they're worshiping were parodying the Eucharist. Right? Because he holds that their ritual life was created not by a bunch of people who came up with a religion, but by the demons who they had tricked into worshiping and following them. Right.
Yeah.
So the idea that there is some kind of relationship, albeit for St. Justin inverse, between the a Eucharistic meal and this meal is not like out of left field when scholars propose it. Right. St. Justin here is proposing it, just it's an inverse relationship.
Yeah, he's saying that it's demons saw the Eucharist and came up with this and inspired these Roman soldiers to do this stuff. That's basically what he's saying.
Yes, as an abomination. Yes. So this is a meal. It is. We can tell it's in some way in the category of sacrificial meal, right? Ritual meal. But here's another great example of trying to interpret archaeological data. As Father Andrew mentioned earlier, they found the remains of bone, like animal bones and stuff, right? Stuff that they were eating, food waste, right? In the Mithraea. So they were eating this stuff, right? But were they sacrificing it?
Yeah.
Was it trapezomata? Because in the dining halls in Greek and Roman temples, they ate meat from the sacrifices, but they also had what's called trapezomata, which is literally table things, meaning, right, other food.
Side dishes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, sides. You got your mac and cheese, you got your mashed potatoes and gravy, right? And just the turkey they sacrificed to Zeus. But
pork. Pulled pork. Right?
But so we don't know. And while normally anytime you find food waste, you assume that they had sacrificed at least some of it, right? The issue with Mithraea is there's no obvious place to sacrifice stuff.
Yeah, there's no altar or anything like that, which, I mean, you think about this, right? These are like caves. They are often literally underground. Sacrifice involves burning stuff. So it just wouldn't be super practical. I mean, I'm speculating here, but it would not be super practical to actually be offering sacrifices in a space like that.
Right. So a normal Roman temple, you have temple proper, where sacrifices are going on and where the idol is, right?
Yeah.
And then you have the dining halls where the meat is taken and then the festal meals are eaten and other ritual activities, usually of a sexual nature, are engaged in, right? Mithraea are a little weird in that regard, in that the main body is the dining hall, but the idol and the iconography are there, but there's not an altar per se, or sacrificial implements per se. So a lot of people theorize, but it's just a theory, right? We don't know for sure, but a lot of people theorize that sacrificial meat was being brought there from somewhere else, right? So there are altars and things in these, because these are military sites. In these military forts, there are places where the more traditional pagan worship is going on. And they're sacrificing animals, right? So, therefore, the theory is they're going and sacrificing stuff to Mithras there, and then taking it there to have their private ritual meal.
Yeah.
That's a theory, but you can't prove that, right? If someone comes and argues, no, they were doing something fundamentally different, I mean, you can't prove that other theory wrong, right? We're just going by what we have, archaeologically. So we also know that there are levels of initiation involved. So this is a mystery cult, right? We've talked about this, that Roman Mithraism is a mystery religion. It's a mystery cult. But it's also weird compared to other mystery cults. So we just talked about how Mithraea are weird compared to regular Roman pagan temples. But their practices are also weird compared to other mystery cults that we're going to talk about next time. Because other mystery cults, while obviously there's mysteries, so there's some private experience that happens, right? Someone is initiated into the mysteries of, say, Demeter, right? But at the time when those initiations happen, there is a big public festival to Demeter.
Yeah.
So there's sort of more regular sacrifices going on, feasts going on, partying going on, sexual activity going on, all of this that's happening in a public setting, and then off in private, there are people who are being initiated into the mysteries of Demeter.
There's like an esoteric, thing happening. In addition, whereas Mithraism seems to have been kind of all esoterica.
Right. There is no public element.
Yeah.
There is no element where anyone else is involved, as far as we can tell.
And I mean, it should be known. I think we haven't actually defined the word mystery of up to this point. I mean, it really just comes from a word in Greek that just means secret.
Yeah.
So it
Covered,
just means
hidden.
secret.
Yeah.
So like, you'll even get sometimes in liturgical texts, Orthodox liturgical texts, will say, and the priest says the following mystically, which doesn't mean he kind of does it with a lot of ooh,
mysteriously.
It just
terribly
means
mysterious,
quietly. Hid in a hidden way, But yeah, I mean, the idea is that the mysteries, it's something secret, something hidden that's happening. So like, even when we refer to the Eucharist as a holy mystery, we don't mean that it's, that no one can see it. What we mean is
or you're having a bizarre esoteric experience.
Yeah. In this case, we mean that there's something hidden happening. Namely that you're eating and drinking the body and blood of Jesus Christ. That's not happening in a completely open way, right? But so a mystery cult is even more of all of that.
Yeah. And we'll get into that a lot more in the next episode. Deep dive in Mithraeum.
Yep. Yeah.
I think it's in Spanish that Doctor Who is Dr. Mysterio.
Interesting.
Which is way cooler than Doctor Who. There are within Roman Mithraism levels of initiation. So it's not just, this is another difference than at least some of the other mystery cults. Some of the other mystery cults, you're either an initiate or not. Right. And so someone would go and be initiated in the Eleusinian mysteries, right? And then you've been initiated in the Eleusinian mysteries. Yeah. But there are like ranks of initiation.
Right.
With it. And the way we know about this is not directly from Origin, but sort of through Origin. Because another thing that's come up on the show before is Origin's Contra Celsus or Contra Celsus. Although if you pronounce it that way, I guess it should be Santra Celsus, shouldn't it? But anyway.
No.
Gotta go classical Latin or nothing. Weenie, weenie, weechy. Anyway. That text, right, Celsus, or Celsus, was the pagan, sort of the great pagan polemical opponent of Christianity in the late 2nd century, and who wrote this sort of attempted refutation of Christianity, which apparently was significant and had enough weight to it that people like Origen felt like they had to respond. Right. We do not have the original. So we only know about what Celsus wrote through Origen quoting it in his response. But he does quote it pretty liberally, right? He'll quote rather large chunks and then respond to them, right, in his response. So, and in one of those chunks, Celsus tells us about the 7 levels of initiation into Roman Mithraism. Starting, we're going to go lowest to highest. Lowest to highest, it is Corax, Nymphus, Miles, Leo, Perses, Heliodromus, and then Pater.
Okay.
So depending on your level of Latin, you probably got at least a couple of those.
Yeah, I was just saying, so is this like Webelos, Boy Scouts, Eagles? Wait. How's that go?
Well, the Freemasons have like, what, 30 odd levels.
So many,
right?
So many degrees of Masonry.
This is just 7, right? So you get the 3rd degree, you've only got 4 left to go.
Corax.
Yes, Corax. We'll translate these into English for the ones people may not know. Corax is a raven.
Right.
So you start out as a raven.
Yep.
Then you become a nymphus, which is a bride.
Huh? Okay. Yeah.
Then you become a miles, which is a soldier. Then you become a Leo, which is a lion. You probably figured that one out already, even if you don't know Latin.
Which one?
Then you become a Perses, which means you become a Persian.
Yes, now you're a Persian.
That reminds me of when I got ordained, and my mother-in-law said to my wife Trisha, "So now you're a Korean?"
It's a nice Antiochian in joke. That's great.
Yes. So
nice. Oof. It is the hardest one to pronounce of all the clergy wife names.
Perses, you become a Persian, right?
Persian, yeah.
Heliodromus means literally a sun runner, right? But is more the idea of a messenger of the sun.
Yeah.
S-U-N, right? You are a messenger of the sun. And then finally, Pater, you probably figured that one out too. That means father. And there would be one person initiated to the rank of Pater in any given group.
Yeah, he's the dad.
Who's sort of the boss of that particular Mithraeum, who sort of presided at all the things, all the ritual things. So you may be wondering, that sounds like a weird random collection of ranks. And you're not wrong.
Right.
These just random things. But these are constellations.
Yeah, so probably the 7 heavens or something like that. So as you go
there's
up
7 of them because each of these constellations is associated with one of the 7 heavens. You're ascending up into the heavens, right? And you get close to a full zodiac if you actually throw all these together. The 7 ranks plus the bull, the scorpion, right? But yeah, you sort of are that is, you're sending upward into the heavens toward joining the feast with the sun and Mithras.
So just to reiterate, this is a best set of guesses from scholarship generally, kind of an attempted reconstruction of what this is all about.
Yeah. And we've left it vague, right? We did not give you a ton of detail about, for example, what happened at the dinner, because we don't know.
We don't know. And let's just leave off with the whole scorpion thing. So,
yes.
All right.
Hopefully that didn't happen to anyone at the dinner.
And now we bring out the scorpions. No.
Yes. That'd be a heck of an initiation.
The newest raven is like, I'm out.
Yeah. No, I'm done.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back with this episode of the Lord of Spirits podcast.
Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung will be back in a moment to take your calls on the next part of the Lord of Spirits. Give them a call at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF-RADIO. We're back now with the Lord of Spirits, with Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung. If you have a question, call now at 855-237-2346. That's 855-AF-RADIO.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking Mithraism here on this this episode of the Lord of Spirits podcast. And now we're finally getting to the part where we address all of those crazy memes. Like which is
what's really important.
Yeah. I just want to suggest to everybody,
meme theology.
At this point, if you think we're making this up, which maybe some of you are like, I've never seen any of this stuff before. Go to the Googles or whatever search.
No, don't expose them to this.
And type
Thank
in
the Lord that he has protected you from this until now.
Jesus Mithras memes, and you will see that the internet is replete, I say, with what we're about to talk about. So anyway, yes, all kinds of people claiming that Christianity comes from Mithraism. It's so fun. All right, so where are we? What's going on?
No phone calls?
Who am I?
Is our call screener cracking down now that I've encouraged people to lie? Is he not letting anybody through?
Pretty much. Something like that. Yeah. No calls currently on the board, so. Yep. I don't know.
So anyway,
people are curious enough about Mithras to comment in the chat.
Okay. But, yes, people on the interwebs are fascinating folk. I would think that just like 1,000 anthropology degrees could be granted on theses, and sociology while we're at it, just working with, subreddits. And
I'll bet you. Yeah, someone just did mention Redditors in the chat. I mean, has the first doctoral dissertation on memes been written and defended? Has that already happened?
Yes. Oh, I'm sure it has.
Yeah.
I'm sure it has. Dozens of them.
And you should be ashamed of yourselves. Anyway.
Yeah. So first we'll start with, before we get into the hoo-ha, we will.
That's the technical term.
Yes. The hoo-ha, as we say in academia. Where does Mithraism actually come from? Okay, and what kind of relationship does it actually have with Christianity? Well, in the same way, or in a similar way, we mentioned the axial age earlier, these shifts that happen. So on a much more localized level, because it's within the Roman Empire, the rise of Christianity over the course of the Roman Empire leading up to St. Constantine, during that period, there is a transformation happening in Roman paganism in general. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Roman paganism had to begin to compete with Christianity in the marketplace of ideas. And so, and I'm not saying Christianity is composed of ideas. That was just a joke for people terminally online in certain circles. Come on, people.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But also, I mean, like, it seems, in a lot of ways, it seems like Greco-Roman paganism is kind of exhausted by this point in its history.
Well, it kind of is. So, Caesar Augustus, not to be confused with St. Augustine, Caesar Augustus really had to revitalize paganism at the beginning of the empire. One of the many reforms, right? We've talked before on the show about him. You know, the Aeneid really is now the new official history for the Roman Empire, and Ovid is collecting sort of what we would call the folklore, right? The stories of the various regions of the newly united empire. And Augustus, the Roman Republic was spent. That's why it died and became an empire. And so he revitalized a lot of things. He had a big family values thing, which don't correspond to our idea of family values, but Roman family values. Which was mainly women being faithful to their husbands and who cares what their husbands do, you know, that kind of thing. But he also had to revitalize the religion because, I mean, temples were in disrepair. Sacrifices weren't being offered. Like, it had gotten bad, right? And even under Augustus, a lot of the Romans still had a very impious view of their own gods. So, for example, famously, when the legion gets lost in Germany to Arminius, not that Arminius Calvinist, don't get excited, to Arminius, the Romans were mad at the gods about it, and so they'd throw rocks at the temples in Rome and hurl curses at the gods because they're like, hey, we held up our end, we gave you, you know, bulls and goats, and, you know, you're supposed to give us victory. So he had to revitalize it. And so he had, to a certain extent, he had sort of reasserted himself as Pontifex Maximus and everything, and was performing sacrificial rituals himself publicly, serving as a priest as part of all this. But having gone through that very sort of irreligious by ancient standards, impious period, the Romans never really got their former pagan religiosity back. And so what happens in this transition, because of that, and again, because Christianity is ascendant, and Christianity being ascendant, it's not just a question of, oh, people have to decide what religion they're going to follow. Christians were actively attacking paganism.
Yeah.
Right? They move from, this is kind of an outdated trope now, but back in the day when you did the, 101 level study of church history, they talked about the 2nd century as the era of Christian apologists, right, who are defending Christianity. And then in the 3rd century, this is only vaguely true, but in the 3rd century, Christians kind of go on the attack. And that's the era of the polemicists, where they're going after paganism, right, and going after Greek philosophy and things. And so some of those attacks, especially on people who are kind of jaded about the gods, and people come along and are offering now these not dumb critiques of traditional Roman pagan religion, they had some bite.
Yeah,
right?
Especially considering, like, within paganism, you're getting critiques. Like Plato often saying, well, the gods aren't really like that, you know.
And so what happens is, outside of, the old paganism still survives, as we talked about earlier, out in the hinterlands, right? They're still doing the old paganism, and they're just fine with it. But in your urban centers and this kind of thing, right? Like, it was all too rustic. It was all too pagan.
It's just not cool anymore. Yeah.
And so you see the ascendancy of various more philosophical approaches and other approaches, but almost all of them are under at least some influence of Christianity, in the sense that they're borrowing Christian terminology, Christian ideas, and these kind of things to kind of overcome the Christian attacks and to appeal to those tempted to become Christian, right? To remain within the broader pagan umbrella. And so you get within people who are still considered pagans, right, aren't actually sacrificing animals anymore.
Yeah.
And they're less likely to be engaging in direct idolatry. Things become much more philosophical. Yeah. So famously, right, people may know this, today's St. John Chrysostom's feast day. St. John Chrysostom's teacher in rhetoric was, quote unquote, a pagan. He was part of the last generation of pagans in the Roman Empire, post-Theodosius, right? And, but the fact that he was a pagan doesn't mean he was out there sacrificing pigs to Zeus, right? It means he wasn't a Christian. He basically believed in Greek philosophy, right? He was, by our standards, we wouldn't even call him a pagan. We'd call him a classicist.
Yeah. Right? So what happens is paganism becomes a lot more kind of intellectual and talky in terms of its public manifestation. I mean, honestly, like, this is just an analogy. It's just an analogy. It's almost like a Protestantizing, where the emphasis on all the ritual life is, that we're a little too cool for that, and it becomes much more intellectual, much more doctrinal,
intellectual,
much more intellectual. Yeah.
And so that's the way this is sort of going, even within, right, the pagan world.
Right. But the truth is that human beings need ritual. And so a lot of people are turning to Christianity, and, some little group of Roman soldiers here and there on the borders are going into their caves and eating their meals with the sun god.
But the ones who aren't are still going to end up in something that very much resembles a religion. And it's kind of Christian-ish, because Christianity becomes the religion that is ascendant. And so Neoplatonism is essentially what you get when you try to stir some Christian ideas of salvation and that kind of thing into Platonism.
Yeah.
And Gnosticism is what you get when you try to stir some Christian ideas into the older paganism, right? You take one of the emanations, you take one of the divine spirits, and you name it Christ.
Yeah.
Right. And you make it some kind of redeemer figure within the whole larger cycle of gods and goddesses of various tiers and levels, right? That it's basically taking the older paganism and just stirring in a little hint of Christianity, some of the same terms, some of the same ideas, doing some kind of version of the Eucharist, but it's clearly not the Eucharist, but it's Eucharist-ish,
Yeah.
And the same thing really with Mithraism.
Yeah, exactly. So before we move on to the next thing about this, you have summoned callers, Father Stephen, with your great power.
Is one of them Pajot?
No, I don't think so, unless he's going under.
He's dodging us. He fears us. Pajot fears Lord of Spirits.
That's clearly what it is. So yes, we have Raul calling from Olympia, Washington. So Raul, welcome to Lord of Spirits podcast.
Thank you very much, Father.
Yeah. What's on your mind?
Thank you so much for your ministry. I wanted to ask Father Stephen if I have two questions. One is, what exegetical commentary would he recommend for the book of Genesis? And the other one is a good book on the Holy Trinity from an Eastern Orthodox perspective.
So how about it, Father? Recommended commentaries on Genesis and also an Orthodox book on triadology, on the Holy Trinity.
I would read, so exegetical commentary. So you don't want like church fathers, right? You want like more modern exegetical commentary.
Well, I'm enjoying the church fathers, but I was hoping, I tried looking it up, to be honest with you, as far as an exegetical commentary, but I struck out. Now I'm legally blind, so that may have something to do with it, but I thought, Stephen could recommend a good commentary on Genesis.
So the in general, if you just want a straight exegetical commentary, right, and you're just looking to get into the text, and you're not looking for a particular perspective, basically the Anchor Bible Commentary series is almost always good on the Old Testament. So now some of the volumes aren't even written by Christians. Some of the Old Testament volumes are by Jewish scholars. But the value of them is that they're just about, they're textual commentaries. They're about the text. So that kind of modern thing, if you want more meaning and interpretation, then I'm more about the church fathers, right? But if you're just wanting to dig into the text, the Anchor Bible Commentary series, there's a volume on Genesis. I think there's 2 volumes on Genesis. I think they split it up. But on Genesis is a good place to go in that regard. In terms of a book on the Holy Trinity, if you want a book, there's one by Boris Bobrinskoy that's good, called The Mystery of the Holy Trinity. If you said you're legally blind, if you want to listen to something, my friend Doc Branson, Dr. Bo Branson, has a whole series of lectures on the Orthodox doctrine of the Holy Trinity from the perspective of the Cappadocian Fathers, that you can listen to for free online if you go to his website. So if you just put his name, Bo, B-E-A-U, Branson, and search for it, you'll get his website, and you can listen to all those lectures for free. So there's a book and another option.
Does that help, Raul?
Bo Branson.
Yeah.
Bo Branson.
Great. Could I ask, what church father do you recommend as far as getting a good handle on Genesis?
I would say two main things. St. Basil the Great's Hexameron, and St. Augustine's literal interpretation of Genesis.
There you go.
St. Augustine's literal interpretation of Genesis. All
right.
Well, thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for calling. So, all right, we've got another caller, and I'm not going to attempt to pronounce the name, so you're going to have to tell me, caller, but apparently you're calling from Beijing. Is that right?
Yeah. Am I there?
Yes, you're there. So tell me how to pronounce your name.
Yeah, my name's Keegan. Keegan. It should
Keegan.
be
Keegan.
Surname,
Okay, with a K.
Gave it to me as a first name. So yeah.
Keegan. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Mike, Mike, our engineer, has desperately misspelled your name, so I wasn't even going to try to say what it is that he wrote.
He sounded like you got it right on the line. Nice try, Mike.
I don't know. Anyway,
he scratched out some kind of gibberish in a language his twin taught him in the womb before he consumed it.
Wow.
So he's got a million of those. So what's on your mind? And what time is it in Beijing right now? It's got to be what, like?
It's about 10:30, 10:22 Beijing time.
Okay.
It's 10:22 from east to west all through China. They only got one time zone here. So.
Okay, gotcha. That's right. Only one time zone for that great.
And what day is it? Is it Friday already?
I'm not even sure. It is Friday. Happy Friday. Yeah.
Okay.
It is Friday.
I could still eat a McRib and you can't. So there.
Yeah.
I could. Hey, I'll find one.
Do they have McRibs in China?
They have McDonald's.
No McRibs. They have really good McDonald's. We'll talk about that later. They got a really great chicken kind of fillet, like a spicy chicken fillet. Fantastic.
Wow.
But anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So what's up?
We could talk China all day, but I just get to it with a question. I was talking to a friend back in the States. I'm not Orthodox myself, but I got a friend who is, and I heard you guys talking about, you mentioned Masonry. I was on the subway, so I was a little bit in and out of the time. But anyway, the guy is since I'm not too familiar with the different forms, but he's of some form of Russian Orthodox in the United States, I believe OCA, but I'm not too sure. Please forgive me. But and he had said that he was also a practicing Freemason, and that this was cool with his spiritual father and his community or whatever, and I was kind of surprised. I don't know, is this within? I imagine that within. Is that okay within most Orthodox traditions, or does it vary, or what's the rationale there?
Yeah.
Or is this just kind of an exception?
So, I mean, okay, so of course, that this episode is not about Freemasonry, but obviously...
Hey, it's closer to on topic than the last caller.
That is exactly. So, I mean, it's only fair since we've kind of...
Don't try and weasel out of this.
As a parallel. But... and this is the case. So number one, there has never been a universal pan-Orthodox conciliar decree against it. There has, however, been multiple local conciliar decrees against it, saying that one may not be an Orthodox Christian and a Freemason. There are no official statements that I have ever heard of from any synod or even individual bishop officially saying that it is okay. In other words, there's none making a positive statement about it. All we have are negative statements. Again, there's not ever been a universal condemnation of Freemasonry put forward, the whole church saying it, but every time the church has spoken about it, it's been negative. There are canons against membership in secret societies, without mentioning the Freemasons in particular, because quite frankly, the whole canonical tradition comes from, at least the main texts, come from a period before there are any records of the Freemasons, right? Like the latest canons, are from like the 8th century, right? So they're not going to name the Freemasons because they wouldn't have ever met one or even heard of one. But yeah, the short answer is no, you cannot be a Freemason and an Orthodox Christian. And I've heard people give all kinds of weaselly explanations for this and attempts to say, well, and, but, it's not really what you think. And to me, it's like, well, the question is not whether anybody is getting this right or whatever. It's just that every time the church has spoken about it, it's spoken negatively about it. So why make a point of it? And if the point is to do good things together with your friends or to be charitable or whatever, there's so many ways to do that without being a member of a secret society, aren't there? So to me, anything good that one gets out of the Freemasons, one can get from some other context. Absolutely.
Like the Elks Lodge. Oh, no, wait, that's not what you meant.
So yeah. I do know that there are many cases that it has been tolerated within Orthodox churches. And there are, of course, there's a number of early 20th century Orthodox bishops who might well have been members, although it seems sometimes that the evidence of that is sketchy. I don't know. But in any event, there's nothing positive coming from church synods or even bishops about the Freemasons. There are only negative things. So that is the actual record.
Interesting.
Yep.
Cool. I have one quick follow-up for Dr. Stephen DeYoung, if it's possible. I don't know if he's aware that there's a Chinese copy of the Religion of the Apostles came across. Yes. Is he aware? I've transferred that on the download to a few friends here, so that's making the rounds, I'm sure, all over China.
We know it. It is authorized. It is free to download. It is absolutely free. Unlike English copies, which please just buy a copy, people. Don't steal. But the Chinese one is free. If you can read
Chinese.
It was translated, right. If you can read Mandarin Chinese, it was translated specifically for the purpose of giving it away for free. The same is true with my book, Arise, O God. You can download both of those from Ancient Faith. So, yep. You don't have to do it on the down low. You can, if you're, running away from the Chinese government or something, then I suppose, but not from us. It's free as far as we're concerned. So enjoy.
Yeah. In fact, the translator of it visited my parish last Sunday.
Hey.
So I saw him just a few days ago.
How about that? I think you might be our first caller from China. Is that true? I'm trying to remember. I don't remember another one.
Oh, yeah. Glad to be the first. I'm originally from the States, so it's not terribly clear, but lived
I detected that from your accent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems like it anyway. Yes. So anyway,
you have an American accent.
Yeah. Well, thanks for calling.
Wisconsin, but I've shed elements, but yeah.
Oh, are you from the part of Wisconsin that pronounces the milky white, the white substance that comes out of cows as milk, or do you say milk?
No, I say milk.
You say, oh, you
I'm not from the milk part. I'm like from the Las Vegas part. You say Vegas. It's weird. That's another something with the.
You call it a bagel or a bagel?
Bagel. Sorry.
Ooh,
wow.
That's
real.
You Brited that one.
The train in the university, and all the people from not Wisconsin came in and were telling me I'm doing it wrong. So
he did totally Brit it.
Anyway.
All right. Well, thanks for calling, Keegan.
Gotta get to work. All right.
Thanks. All right. Okay. So
I feel like that caller was streets ahead.
Yeah. Nice. So are there real parallels between what we think we know or what we do know about Mithraism and Christianity? Like actual things that someone can point to and say, no, that's real. That's real.
I mean, kinda.
Kind of.
Right. Right. If we want to steel man this, right?
Right.
We're going to try and find the best parallels we can, right?
Okay.
We're going to hunt for them. So you could say both of them centered on a meal.
Okay.
In the case of Roman Mithraism, that would be the dinner with the sun, and in the case of Christianity, that would be the Eucharist.
But that's so broad.
Okay, listen, we're steel manning this.
All right, I'm just saying, like almost
trying
every
to work with them.
Practice. Okay.
We're trying to work with them.
All right.
Both of them had their ritual life was private, and you had to be initiated to attend the meal.
Ooh. Okay. All right.
In very different ways, but still, right?
Yeah.
Both involved salvation.
Yeah. I mean,
as a broad concept.
You know, Hindu yogins are trying to achieve salvation, but
we're working hard here, man. We're working hard.
Not what we mean by.
Yes, we're working hard. And right. Both seem to have involved sacrificial blood.
Maybe.
Like every other religion in the world, but still, these two.
Right. Literally. So there we go. So it seems that Christianity is like every other religion in the world.
Well, in order to use terms broadly enough to make Christianity and Mithraism parallel, you have to make them both parallel with every other religion. Yes, that's where this is going. Yes.
There you go.
Well, there's nothing uniquely true about the two of them, really.
Yeah.
That isn't shared by at least a bunch of other groups, if not everybody.
But the memes have so many other things they mention.
Oh, yes.
Aren't they true?
And here's what's amazing. So the memes are drawing on a set of sources that are all coming from Jesus mythicists, who are kooks. There is, I think it's still available on YouTube, friend of the show, Bart Ehrman, having a debate with a Jesus mythicist. And the debate kind of falls apart because there's a point. And it's amazing that this happened to friend of the show, Bart Ehrman, because he usually is so good about this kind of thing. But where his opponent, the Jesus mythicist, says something, and he just bursts out laughing.
No. I mean, I don't know. There's some things that are just so ridiculous that what else can you do?
Yes, and when he does it, if you watch the debate, like he's very apologetic after he does it. And the Jesus mythicist he's debating is very offended, right?
Yeah.
As he probably should be. But that's right. But so Jesus mythicism is here. Watch me alienate a whole bunch of people. Is up there with like flat Earth for me in the just. Come on, dude. Like that's like level of ridiculousness required to actually hold to it. Okay. But so there are these groups of Jesus mythicists. Okay. And they for whatever reasons, we'll talk about this more in a minute, for whatever reasons have decided that the key to their proving Christianity false and justifying their atheism, because apparently they need to do that to be atheists. They can't just be atheists. Right. Like I would think they could just say, hey, they don't believe in Christianity and leave it at that. But no, they think they have to prove something in order to justify that. So,
I mean, you could spend a lot of time trying to disprove many other religions. in order to prove. Yeah.
Yes. They don't feel the need to disprove any other religions.
Yeah.
And they think the way to disprove Christianity is to show that Jesus didn't exist and therefore Christianity is a form of paganism.
Right.
Okay. So having decided that, they then self-publish these books and make these arguments. And what's amazing is you get these circular citation threads, right? This is one of the many reasons why people overvalue citations, where they all cite each other, right?
Right.
And if you follow the chain back, you just get somebody making an assertion.
Right.
With no evidence. But
so, yeah, a good for this kind of thing, a good citation, a good piece of evidence would be to say, here is a text from the ancient world. Here is a archaeology I'm interpreting in the following way.
Anything.
Here is, anything.
Right? An argument. Just a logically constructed argument.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, what we just went through, these parallels that are based on something is the most that you can get. But as we said, it doesn't add up to Christianity is derived from Mithraism.
So one of them just makes an assertion, right? And then another one of them quotes that assertion, meaning they make the assertion too, but then they put a footnote to the first guy.
Yeah.
And then a third guy footnotes the two of them and makes the same assertion. And so by the time you get about 3 or 4 self-published books deep into this stuff, you've got a book published with this raft of citations underneath the things we're about to talk about. But if you actually go and follow citation, which of course no one does, they just look at this big list of citations and say, oh, this must be true. They have lots of citations. Right?
Yeah.
But you actually find out they're just citing each other and it just goes back to nothing. Right? So far more valuable, let me suggest, than a raft of citations is just logically coherent arguments, for example.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we're going to run through a few of these that have been asserted and then quoted and requoted and all this, such that the people, by the time you get to the meme, people who post the meme think, well, this is based on scholarship, right? But that scholarship is 5 people quoting each other in self-published books, okay? So, Christmas, from the title of this episode, you may believe, that Mithras was born on December 25th.
Piles of memes out there saying this. Like when I went searching for the memes to make sure that Father Stephen wasn't just making stuff up, this was on all of them.
Yes.
This is number one. This is number one, that he's born on December 25th, which is based on
nothing.
Nothing at all. Literally nothing
at all. Now, the closest thing to something is there was a Roman festival of Sol Invictus on the winter solstice, which is not December 25th.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the problem with that is the earliest references, and you can go look this up, the earliest references to a celebration of a festival of Sol Invictus post-date the earliest references to Jesus being born, his birth being celebrated on December 25th.
Right.
And so there's actually, and this will be my third time I reference the Rest is History podcast. Go check out the episode that they did about Sol Invictus and Christmas and stuff. And you can hear a pair of secular historians absolutely trashing the idea that Christmas is derived from Sol Invictus, and actually indicating that it seems to have possibly gone the other way around. That Sol Invictus was an attempt by pagans to try to do something to, take over Christmas.
Yes, yeah.
So,
but even that's Sol Invictus, that's not Mithras.
Right.
And it wasn't his birthday.
Right. It's not like, that's the thing is, it's like, well, these two things are kind of like each other, therefore it must be the same thing. It's like, look, it's not like ancient pagans didn't know, that there's all these different days in the year, and they didn't know the difference between December 25th and December 21st. And they didn't, they didn't have numerous different feast days that they were celebrating. You can't just say, oh, well, these things are like each other, therefore it must be the same thing.
Yes. So then they will say Mithras had a virgin birth.
Which the closest you get to that, sort of, maybe, kind of, is the whole rock thing. But
right. Flying out of a rock is technically asexual reproduction.
But not exactly parthenogenesis.
Not what Luke 2 is talking about.
Right.
St. Matthew's talking about, not remotely, but I mean, technically, right? Like,
right.
They say that Mithras had 12 disciples.
Which is based on
nothing.
Again, like at most, there's 2 of them, like the 2 mini-me's.
Yes. Now, trying to steelman this, right? Like, maybe they're thinking of the 12 signs of the zodiac, because there's like the astrological thing with Mithras.
Yeah, but
they're not like followers.
I mean, the number 12
they're
is
like
kind of a big
constellations
big
groping the bull, but I mean...
Yeah, the number 12 is a big deal in pretty much every religion. So
because of the zodiac, yes.
Because of the zodiac, because of the human hand. Like if you look at your 4 fingers, they each have 3 segments. That's 12.
Yeah.
This is where the Sumerian counting system comes from.
Babylonian, but yeah.
Yeah, Babylonian, sorry. But, same neighborhood. But,
how dare you?
But like, yeah. So again, like, as you like
there's
to say,
Akkadians just horrified at you now.
Don't hunt. All of our Sumerian listeners are ready to start writing me angry emails. Yeah, the Babylonian listeners.
So he supposedly Mithras died and rose again, and sometimes even say died and rose again after 3 days,
which is based on
nothing.
Literally nothing. Like there's none of the iconography in the Mithraea. There's none of what anyone said about the actual practice, which again is sparse, but it's just not even there. It's really, this is people trying to dress up Mithras and Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, you've got ending and restarting like the cycle of life in the world. Well, like that's as close as you get.
But
there are myths of gods, pagan gods that die and come back in some way.
Right.
That is a thing.
Yeah.
Right. But that's not Mithras.
Guy. Yeah.
Mithras is nothing about this. Yes. This is one of my favorite. Mithras represented life, truth, and purity.
This sounds very sort of 1970s hippie.
Yes, right? Which, okay, but what does truth mean for a Roman soldier?
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't mean what Christ meant when Christ said he's the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Like, truth in the Roman Empire was, a question of force and power. You made something true. Right? This is my favorite one because it's hysterical. Mithras was all about social justice.
Yes, social justice in a cult that was men only, and then was highly stratified, and was entirely between people whose whole profession was violence.
Yes, the military elite. Yes,
social justice. That's where I look for social justice.
Nothing says social justice like an exclusive club for free white dudes.
Well, they didn't have to be white, just Roman soldiers. Come on.
They're pretty much all white by modern standards. And the people who use the phrase social justice today to describe Mithras, they very much have a category white, shall we say.
They have no idea.
So they say they did baptisms because, there was water to wash with.
Yeah, if a place where there's a water basin means there's baptisms, then literally everyone in the world is doing baptisms.
Yes. The Hindus who go into the Ganges, that's baptism now, I guess.
Yeah. Right.
So, they offered bread and wine, this is another great one.
Yeah, there's no indication of that. All the food remains we have are just animal. Now, if they were eating bread and wine, there probably wouldn't be any or much trace of that, But
no, but literally the argument that they were having bread and wine, right? Because I went back to a bunch of my books on Mithraism and mystery cults in general when we were getting ready for this episode. literally they're making arguments like, well, I mean, they're Roman soldiers. Of course they're drinking wine.
Okay, but...
And I'm like, cool, but that means it has no ritual significance.
Yeah, I mean, or they're all Mithraists.
Yes, like, presumably they're drinking water as well, or they die.
Yes.
Right? Like, that's not ritually significant. Right? And yes, bread was the most common food in the Roman military. So yes, they probably ate some bread.
Yeah.
That does not make the Eucharist, right? And this is a great one. This is a great one too. This is another favorite. So supposedly Mithras was visited by shepherds and magi when he was born. Now I don't know how that works since he flew out of Iraq.
Yeah, say which is based on
nothing.
What's I mean,
but this is the
I was just saying, like, okay, we're laughing at this, but that's because it really is a big joke. It just is. It just is.
So
then
wait till you hear this one. So I backtracked that. Right? Like, where does that come from? Right? In the memes and stuff, right? And it comes from one of those Jesus mythicist guys who just asserts that they get cited by everyone else. And in the original thing, he says, the idea that Christ was visited by magi was not added in Christianity until AD 813.
Wow. Tell me you know nothing about the text of the Bible without telling me you know nothing about the text of the Bible.
So apparently no one read St. Matthew's Gospel until 813. And they're like, oh, hey, look, magi.
It was edited worldwide.
But I figured out how this knucklehead got there.
Yeah, as I say, where's that date from?
Yes, that's okay. That is the earliest date at which we know that in the West, in Latin practice, on the Feast of Epiphany on January 6th, they commemorated the visit of the Magi to see Jesus.
Wow. So the establishment of a feast day.
No, not the establishment of feast day. It's a shift because they celebrated like our theophany. January 6th was Christ's baptism.
Sure. Okay.
At a certain point in the West, they started celebrating the visit of the Magi on that date. Earliest testimony we have to that is 813, the 9th century.
Wow.
So this fellow, this bright bulb, reads that and says, oh, they came up with the idea that Magi visited Jesus at 813.
Yeah. I mean, what's amazing, just to give everybody some sense of how ridiculous an assertion that is. By 813, you not only have thousands and thousands of manuscript copies of the New Testament around, most of which include those passages from Matthew's Gospel. So not only do you have that, but you have church fathers commenting on that. You have apocryphal texts, including elaborations on that. And you have almost the complete set of the standard festal hymns of the church that include that by that point in church history.
Yes. And Mithraism had been gone for 400 years.
Right. So it's just breathtaking, invincible ignorance.
This is double-digit IQ stuff, and I'm being generous with double-digit.
Yeah, it's even secular historians of Christianity or the ancient world do not take this kind of stuff seriously. They just don't. You know?
Yes. And so finally,
one last assertion.
Supposedly, they worshipped Mithras on Sunday.
Which is based
After all, it's called Sunday.
Oh, yes. And there's a whole sun thing.
That's what it's based on.
Wow. That, again, means that everybody else in the world who has sun motifs or something is worshiping Mithras.
Yeah. So literally, yes. Even though we literally, one of the few things we know for sure is that they did this every day in the evening. That's one of the few things we know for sure about Mithraism, is that this was not a one-day-a-week thing, let alone on Sunday. Right? But there we go.
Wow.
Right? So it's not just they don't know anything about Christianity, they don't know anything about Mithraism.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they have studied neither and pontificate about both. And remember how I defined stupid earlier this evening? This idea is stupid.
Yeah.
So, but on top of that, on top of the conclusions, right, there are a bunch of these weird underlying assumptions underneath this whole thing. For example, that there's some kind of continuity across the Mithras cult. Like, Roman Mithraism is identical to whatever was going on with the Hittites, number one, because they want to say it's so much older than Christianity. That everywhere in the world where there was a Mithraeum, they were doing the exact same thing, which we have no evidence of. We see similarities, right? But we don't know how much variety there was beyond that, right? They assume, as Father Andrews just pointed out, they kind of assume the Bible doesn't exist.
Yeah.
They kind of assume that either Judaism didn't exist or just Christianity has no relationship whatsoever to Judaism.
Yeah. Like, if you see something in Christianity that's in Judaism, especially given that the whole story of Christianity is that it is Israel, isn't it more reasonable to believe that Christianity got something from Judaism than that it got it from this little Roman cult?
Right.
Isn't that
you don't have to go to Mithras for this. I mean, this is, Easter was a pagan holiday. It's like Passover was a pagan holiday. I thought it was a Jewish holiday.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Like, just Judaism doesn't exist. Right? Now, part of this, I do have to slightly poke our Protestant friends here, who, as we already mentioned once in this episode, kind of talk like Christianity started from scratch.
Yeah, like it's a new religion.
And kind of minimize a lot of the relationship to the Old Testament and to Judaism. And that culture is part, and the fact that they're not really inquisitive and don't want to actually learn anything is why these nut bars don't know about a connection between Christianity and Judaism, because a lot of the Christians they know have minimized it. But you're far less to blame than they are. This is just a gentle poke, whereas I'm slapping these other people around.
Yeah.
and then finally, the kind of the weirdest one to me is that if they were right, that would somehow magically debunk Christianity.
Right.
So let's say they were absolutely correct and Christianity is a form of paganism. Why does that make it false?
Yeah.
Like, play the Final Jeopardy music, right? Like, there is no reason to conclude that. This is just completely irrational. That's not a logical argument, right, between premises, right? That's, even if you argue Mithraism and Christianity are identical. Okay, you prove that. Okay, why is it false? Right? So the whole overarching point of the argument makes literally no rational sense. So this is one of those fractally wrong moments. The whole thing is wrong and makes no sense, and each individual part of it is wrong and makes no sense. In the same way and to the same extent. Don't do Jesus mythicism, people. Not once. Yeah. And so, to sum up, here's our broad summary of what we've talked about tonight. Things are different. Not everything is the same. You could make any two things seem the same if you describe them in broad and vague enough terms.
Yeah.
But what value does that have? I said to Father Andrew earlier, I can point out broad similarities between chalk and cheese.
Yes. They have the same number of letters. They both start with the same sound. They're both monosyllabic. You can eat both. Clearly, they're the same.
Both are white to yellow in color. Right? Like, you guys, okay, cool. So what does that do for us?
Come from England.
Yes. What does that do for us? We have now pointed out there are similarities between chalk and cheese. Vague similarities. So what?
Yeah.
Right? This has no value.
Yeah. Yeah, I think my big takeaway from this, I mean, the likelihood that we have a bunch of Jesus mythicists who are ever going to listen to this episode and are sitting there grinding their teeth at us is pretty small. So then what is the value for the rest of us? Well, it's not so that you, I mean, although if you want to, I guess you could or whatever. It's not to like go find some of these people and ridicule them. Although I won't blame you if you put a laugh react on these memes when you see them in a few weeks or sooner. But it's actually a lesson in how to think. Number one, about how we understand evidence from the ancient world. I mean, this is something that we talk about a lot on this podcast, but also, frankly, it's about how to think in terms of understanding evidence and the things that you see in front of you, even from the modern world, right? Human beings, naturally, we want to make connections between stuff. And so we construct narratives about how things are connected to each other. We see things that are similar and we say, oh, they must be connected because look, this is similar to that. Wow, there's all these parallels that must be connected. And again, like a lot of the memes that we're talking about here at the end, they constitute lists. Like there'll be on the one side, there'll be a list of things that supposedly have to do with Mithras. On the other side, things that have to do with Jesus. And I've seen one in the bottom panel says, Christians, why can't you even be original? Right? Like it's all about these sort of lists. But here's the thing, like critical thinking involves not just saying this is like this or this is the same as this, but which parallels are actually meaningful. And that's why we spent this part of the episode taking apart a list that supposedly is meaningful, but actually turns out to be meaningless, and in many cases is based on literally nothing, pure assertion, no evidence, right? But someone sees it and they don't know anything about any of this stuff. And so like, wow, I had no idea. Mithras, the proto-Jesus. And there's a lot of thinking here in, this part of the 21st century where people do this kind of stuff. And they'll say, well, this is like this, or wow, that parallels this. And they'll connect dots. But the thing is just because you can connect dots doesn't mean those dots actually have anything to do with each other. Or that the thing that they have to do with each other is maybe interesting, but possibly also meaningless. But for just a second, let's assume that all the dots that someone wants to connect should be connected. That they create these constellations out of stuff and it's real. And it's an absolutely correct interpretation. And it turns out that all the terrible things that one might conclude from whatever set of evidence that you put together are real, right? There are people that will tell you, having revealed some hidden thing, having done that then you need to change the way that you live your life based on that, right? And often the way that they motivate you to do that is for you to be afraid and or angry, preferably both, because of course that will make you click on their stuff more often and get them more ad revenue. But let's say it's all true. Let's say you should connect all those dots. Let's say all the terrible things that you think are happening. And I mean, I'm not going to say that there's a lot of terrible things happening, right? There's dots that should be connected. Let's say that's true. My question is, how does that change what it is that we are supposed to be doing as Christians? Because the truth is that Christianity emerges onto the scene in a world that in many cases is actively trying to destroy it. Like, talk about connecting dots, talk about conspiracies, talk about all that stuff. Like, that's real. It's absolutely real. Christianity emerges in that context, and it doesn't say at that moment we should live angry and afraid. The opposite. peace, and have no fear. That's how we're supposed to live. Christian faithfulness is the same as it has always been. I know that people feel in some ways like the world is more insane than it has ever been. But really, if you listen to the show for a long time or just read a lot of history, then you know that there's been a lot of insane periods in the history of the world. And frankly, if you live in the United States in 2025, it's not actually that insane compared to most of history. It's really not. You know, I'm not saying that the bad stuff isn't bad. It's definitely bad, for sure. But we need to have a little perspective. But even if it is, even if this is the worst time ever, even if the world is about to end, what is it that Jesus has said that he wants to find when he comes for his second and glorious appearing? Faithfulness. That's what we're supposed to be doing. Faithfulness. And we know how to do that. We know what Christian faithfulness consists of. Love the Lord your God with all your whole soul, heart, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. All the commandments are summarized in those. That's what Jesus said. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That's what we're supposed to be doing. And that's why even this kind of, connecting the dots thinking, which we outlined a really ridiculous example of that in the third part of this episode. But even if that is all true, the mission is still the same. So that's what I have to say about that.
So I'm going to denounce the pan-heresy of ecumenism.
Yay.
Because sort of what I said in summary there, not everything is the same. Things are different, actually, is actually really important. And this is a point of the spirit of our age that we need to counter. And when I talk about this, I guess people get mad, which means I found a sensitive spot, so I'm going to jackhammer it. A big part of the spirit of our age, which is not the Holy Spirit, sorry, Hegel, is this idea that on whatever front we might be discussing, what we have in common, what we have that unites us, is greater than what divides us. And that is false. That is a lie from the devil when it comes to Christianity. I'm more of a St. Paul, what fellowship has light with darkness? What fellowship has God with Belial kind of guy. And the church has been facing this threat for a while now. But it was coming from one side. It was coming from, shall we say, the left side for a long time. Where, you've got the World Council of Churches, the National Council of Churches. You've got all these ecumenical groups where it's, hey, what we have in common as Christians, or worse, as religious people, what we have in common is more important and more powerful than what separates us. What separates us is the truth. And the truth is Christ. What separates Christianity from other religions is Christ, the Son of God, the basis of our salvation. And what separates different people who identify as Christian from each other, when you boil it down, is who they think Christ is. And here's the thing, only the real Christ who actually exists can save you. Not a version you've made up, not a version someone else made up that they've bamboozled you into believing in, right? And putting your faith and trust in. Not bad theology. Not some system of salvation that's been sold to you, right? Only the actual living, eternal, second person of the Trinity, our Lord Jesus Christ, who became man for our salvation, right? He can save you, and you need to come to know him. And, you know, from the perspective of those ecumenical groups and the kind of left thing and the whole, you know, oh, we need to come together for social progress or whatever, I think probably 99% of our audience is with me. Where I start losing people is when I point out that the threat right now is not those groups. The threat right now is coming from the other side. The threat right now is this idea that there is a thing called conservative Christianity and the Orthodox Church is a branch of it. Branch theory is just as ugly from that side as the other. Okay. The idea that, you know, what I have in common in my beliefs about marriage with a Reformed Baptist who thinks it's not a sacrament, it's a civil institution, it is not a means by which the divine energies enter people's life. It's just a social relationship for the continued constitution of the species. What I have in common with them is negligible. Certainly not enough where we could put together some kind of common political front. Certainly not amounting to anything. Certainly not bigger than what divides us. Because what divides us is a fundamental difference in how we think God works in the human heart to bring about salvation. This other purely hypothetical person believes that there is a one-time act done unilaterally by God that labels him as being saved so that when he dies, he will go to heaven. And I believe that God is continually pouring forth his love and his mercies and his goodness in the world, and that by cooperating with what God is doing in the world, I could be transformed into his likeness and find salvation. Those are not the same thing. Those are not two different ways of describing the same thing, and one of them is a lie. I know I'm being super hardcore today, but I don't care, because this is really bothering me. And if this offends you as a non-Orthodox listener, maybe you need to be offended by it and think about it. Those aren't the same thing. Okay, my religion centers on the Eucharist. If yours doesn't, we don't practice the same religion. I don't relish that. Like, I'm not rejoicing in the fact that there are people who consider themselves Christians and who honestly are Christians in the sense that they're people who love our Lord Jesus Christ as they understand him, and they're doing their best to follow him as best they understand, as best they can. Right? I'm not putting some kind of moral barometer on them. Right? Mostly, if they're wrong, it's because they've been misled. Right? So I'm not judging you as a person if you're one of those people. Right? That's great. But what I want for you is not to hold your hand and say kumbaya and pretend that there's no difference between us and those differences aren't significant. I want you to come to know the truth. I want you to come to know Christ more deeply. I want you to understand how salvation actually is, and I want you to experience it yourself. And I want you to surpass me. I want you to become a holier person than me. I want you to come to know Christ better than I do. I want better for you than I want for me. But we don't get that by me pretending that just anyone who calls themselves a Christian is a Christian. And there's no difference. Even if they're quote-unquote conservative. Or quote-unquote traditional to some tradition. Because it's not true. I'm not going to get what I want for you out of love for you to surpass me in your knowledge of God and your righteousness and your goodness before God. You're not going to get that by me lying to you and pretending everything's fine, or you already have achieved that, or there's nothing that needs to change. Any more than I'm ever going to get there by lying to myself and telling myself that I'm okay and I understand everything and I'm doing everything right. I've got to be honest with myself. That means I've also got to be honest with you. All right? And the truth is, our Lord Jesus Christ truly lives, truly is a person. There are a lot of wrong views of him. There are a lot of fake Christs, antichrists, personal Jesuses that people have who aren't going to save you. Okay? So I am not absolutely opposed to ecumenism. I am not absolutely opposed to these kind of things and these minimizations of differences because I don't love you. I am absolutely opposed to them because I do. And I'm not going to be one more person lying to you about your faith. So that's what I have to say. Now we have to do the outro read after that, but here we are.
That's okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. That's our show for tonight. If you didn't happen to get through to us live on this episode about Mithraism, we'd still like to hear from you. You can email us. Send me all that hate mail. LordofSpirits@ancientfaith.com. Father Stephen gets it too. You can also message us at our Facebook page, or you can leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/Lord of Spirits. And if you have basic questions about Orthodox Christianity, or you need help in finding a parish in the 3D world, go to orthodoxintro.org.
And join us for our live broadcast on the second and fourth Thursdays of the month at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Easy come, easy go. Have a good time with lots of dough.
If you're on Facebook, you can follow our page. You can join our big old discussion group and leave ratings, leave reviews, and share this show with a friend or an enemy who might find out he loves it.
And finally, be sure to go to ancientfaith.com/support and help make sure we and lots of other AFR podcasters stay on the air. Slipping up high, slipping down low. Love them and leave them. On with the show.
Thank you. Good night. God bless you all.
You've been listening to the Lord of Spirits with Orthodox Christian priests, Father Andrew Stephen Damick and Father Stephen DeYoung, a listener-supported presentation of Ancient Faith Radio. And I beheld, and I heard the voice of many angels round about the throne, and the beasts, and the elders, and the number of them was 10,000 times 10,000, and thousands of thousands, saying with a loud voice, Worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power, and riches, and wisdom, and strength, and honor, and glory, and blessing. Revelation chapter 5, verses 11